afternoon. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
I think the biggest thing
by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where 100% of the revenue stays right here in the province of Alberta. Playalberta.ca. And we have a busy show. We will talk a lot about the Oilers hiring today of Stan Bowman. Sheldon Kennedy is going to join us. Of course, Sheldon, many of you, I think, are aware that Sheldon was a victim and now survivor at the hands of Gray and James. As Sheldon has spoke openly many times, that abuse left him, devastated, humiliated. He was an alcoholic for a while. There was a lot of pain. And I know that, sadly, there are many of you listening right now who have gone through the exact same thing. And I've learned, albeit not quick enough, that yelling and screaming is likely going to lessen the impact of the conversation. So I was on record, and my opinion never changed. I was on record as saying I wouldn't have hired Stan Bowman because I thought the distraction was the juice worth the squeeze, right? So that's my opinion. I don't change it. However, I don't ever like being stubborn enough to say that, you know what? Now that he's here, let's see what he does. And I asked Stan Bowman some questions. We'll get to those in a second today, because today, to me, this hiring was much more. There's much more important things than hockey in this hiring. I understand he's a general manager of a hockey team in a Canadian market with arguably the most passionate fan base around. And obviously the team wants to win. The fans want them to win. I don't discount that for a second. However, that does not mean that two things can happen simultaneously. So Stan Bowman is now the GM of the Edmonton Oilers. It's not going to change. To his credit, he didn't shy away from stuff. He admitted he erred, which is usually the first step to getting back on track. Made some mistakes. We'll talk to Sheldon Kennedy about that. He's going to join us in 20 minutes time. He's worked with Stan Bowman a lot. Stan Bowman was very hands-on. He wasn't just, maybe doing it for public service. He was heavily involved for the last few years in educating himself, learning more about what he did wrong and how he can do better in the future. Spoke with Kyle Beach, not originally. Told us that Kyle Beach didn't answer his text the first time. It's understandable. But Sheldon Kennedy encouraged him to reach out again. A few months later, he did. Him and Kyle Beach ended up speaking. They ended up actually working together as Kyle Beach is an assistant coach at U Sports, Trinity Western. And they spent a day and a half speaking together. And, Jeff Jackson mentioned that he spoke to Kyle Beach and, Beach, gave him the thumbs up to hire him. So we'll see. But that's just one side of the story. The other side of the story is that Kyle Beach, sadly, wasn't the only victim of Brad Aldrich. Brad Aldrich is a convicted pedophile. He is human dung in my eyes. I'm really sorry. I don't have a lot of time for people that are sexual predators. You can tell me that, well, they were sexually abused, so they become, not all. No, that's not true. And people can break cycles. It's happened many times in lots of different ways. Right? Some people had an abusive father. They chose not to abuse their kids. It happens. Don't tell me it can't happen. So I have very little patience for Brad Aldrich. The fact I look at our society and this human dung actually went to jail. He sexually assaulted a high school hockey player who was 16 years of age in 2013 at Houghton High School, his hometown. That's how much of a pervert and deplorable human being he is. He went to jail for 9 months, then got out, started a company, and guess what? He recruits college young men interns. So guess what? He has more victims to prey on. Anybody who's naive enough to think that this guy's reformed is fooling themselves. So the mistake that they made was not only they didn't know how to act properly to Kyle Beach, and it's been proven well, there was a report that came out that stated there was never any letters in Miami, Notre Dame. Houghton, they said they never got any reference letters from Chicago, and I can understand, like, why would Aldrich use Chicago as a reference? He knows why I got fired there. However, the mistake was the Blackhawks did not call these places and say, "Hey, you guys hired Brad Aldrich. Do not get rid of him right now." They said nothing, and that's a deep, complex. It's easy to say you should speak up, but sadly, in our society, not a lot of us do it when we can. You know, the bystander effect, and it's hard. It's really difficult. You have victims themselves who don't want to speak up. And Sheldon Kennedy talked about it. He said, go back and read the stories about when he finally came public about what happened to him and how many people ripped on him because he was, quote, ruining hockey and shouldn't have said it and should have kept quiet. People actually believe that. That's where, sadly, there are some people still in society that, well, don't upset the apple cart. And it's not just in the hockey culture. It happens in families. There's lots of people listening right now who, you know what, and there's tons of stories out there. Son or daughter gets abused, tells somebody in the family, and they're like, well, we don't want that. We're going to look bad, so don't say anything. And you have to live with it. And to those who are listening right now, I hope that wasn't you. If it was, I hope you're okay. I've done this show and done this job for a long time. It's sports. It's super fun. You get some nice comments here and there. Today was the day where I had a few people reach out and said, thank you for asking the questions you did to Bowman, because this announcement is really hard for me. I'm a victim of childhood sexual abuse. And I trust the people to tell me. I would never say their name. I would never mention anything about that. And to me, those are things that matter. When we look at the big picture, the Oilers win the cup, you're excited. You're happy. That's awesome. But that euphoria and happiness that you have would not erase the pain you have if you're a victim of sexual abuse. It's not how it works. So when I look at Stan Bowman now he's the GM. He talked a lot about wanting to look forward, so let's look forward. And he stated, and Deck, do we have that? Okay, so we'll get to these two questions because I want you to listen to the second question that I asked Bowman today. Because to me, that's the element that I will be evaluating him more than anything else than a trade or anything. We can still talk about the trades, and we'll talk about contract signings, and we'll talk about drafting. We'll talk about all of that. But for me, at the basis of it, there is something much more important. So first question I asked Stan Bowman is, in your conversations with Sheldon Kennedy, what did you learn about the destructiveness of silence? Because your silence allowed Brad Aldrich to have other victims outside of Kyle Beach.
I think the biggest thing I learned from Sheldon is what you kind of just touched on, which is the negative power of silence and not taking a bigger role. And I think that's what, when I look back on it, that's what I reflect on is, you don't want to assume other people are doing things when you want to take an active role and make sure that things happen that are supposed to happen. So that's a learning experience, and that's what I'm going to take away from that, which is you want to make sure, I think Sheldon said that there's the bystander effect, and you want to make sure that you do what you can to play a part and play an active role in those types of situations.
And just one quick follow-up to that.
Yeah.
In your position now as a general manager of a National Hockey League team and a very passionate fan base, it is a big problem in society. And I know people, we talk about sports. Are you going to be able to use your position to further the cause, to change it? And if so, how?
Well, I want to, Jason. What I really believe in is, there is ability to make change and to learn from situations and to grow from them. And I think that's what I look at. And the other thing that Sheldon and I talk a lot about is, and this is really what the charter also helps is, certainly what happened to Sheldon and what happened to Kyle is terrible. And it's, fortunately, that's not as common as other things that happen on teams. Harassment, hazing, bullying, those things, those are probably more common. So we want to get rid of all of it, not just what happened to Sheldon and happened to Kyle. Those are clearly awful situations. But the charter work is to look at a team where you may not have that going on, but you have other things that can tear at the fabric of the culture on your team. So I think that's what encouraged me was to, because I don't think you want to focus just on one thing. The whole idea is you want to try to make sure that there's positive things. And this is the way I explain it. I've had a chance to work with, done a lot of work with USA Hockey, working with their kids at the festivals just a couple weeks ago. And what I tell them is, these are kids that are teenagers aspiring to become professional players. And I said, I hope all of you guys in this room become NHL players. Some of you will, some of you won't. Even the ones that do, there's going to be a day when your career is over. And I hope that when you look back on your time as an athlete, from the time you were a kid until the time you finish, I hope you look back with fondness that you had a good experience on that team. Now, certainly what happened to Sheldon, what happened to Kyle, that's not the case. They don't look back with fondness. So how can we make sure that we're doing the things, and the charter is a tool. It's not everything, but it's a process that a team can go through so that they can be supportive and that they can get rid of bad situations. That's really my goal, and it's something that I'm hoping to do, into the future. This isn't something I'm not going to help out anymore. Like I want to give my time. I want to be devoted to that stuff.
And now we will see. This is where he has to walk the walk. You can talk and you can say all the right things, but the evaluation, for me personally, everybody else is going to have their own different evaluations. I understand. I can evaluate two sides. I will evaluate Stan Bowman, the GM, when it comes to hockey, but that's not going to be my main focus. It's going to be one of them, but the other one, probably evenly, will be, is he walking the walk? What are we going to see and hear from Stan Bowman that continually, not a one-time thing once a year, and, no offense to people who have golf tournaments. It's great. You have a golf tournament. But one day a year isn't enough. For the role he's in, the position he's in, it's with this saying, with great power comes great responsibility. Right? That goes way back to, I know somebody originally attributed it to Voltaire, but it happened even before he wrote that. It goes back to the French Revolution, even farther back, if you look it up. And so he is in a position of power in an organization. He's also in a position where there are a lot of people who have eyes. I'm not just talking fans. I'm talking corporations. I want to see, do Bowman and the Oilers organization, is it just status quo? Was this all say all the right things today? And then once the season comes, it's hockey, 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 and that's all it is? Because if that's the case, it'll be a gross disappointment. Because today gave me hope to see something I never thought of. The Stan Bowman hiring, if there's a positive from it, it could be that they become a vocal and consistent supporter and speaker of curbing sexual abuse, harassment, bullying, all that stuff in the team. I understand it. And I know that some people get uncomfortable with it. I know why you're uncomfortable, because it's awful to think. It's really hard to rationalize to how to think another human being could sexually assault someone. And when you think about, it's like they're pulling their soul out from them slowly. And then they do it repeatedly, because rarely is it one time. It's over and over again. And it's why the survivors, lots of them struggle for the rest of their lives. Some are able to find ways to cope. Many of them are so much stronger than they get credit for. Others have found ways to really cope with it. You look at Sheldon Kennedy, and he's going to come up next. And, he was able to take a negative situation. And it didn't happen overnight. Right? He talked about it. He was a drunk for a long time. People kind of mocked him. And because he had a lot of pain inside. He had a lot of embarrassment. And he shouldn't have. He did nothing wrong. He wasn't Graham James. He was just a victim of Graham James. And, now he's actually, he's got he grew up a farm kid. Him and his wife, they live in Saskatoon. And they're potato farmers right now. Really, you know what? Just a good, hardworking occupation. But they own and operate the Respect Group, which trains thousands of people with messages and tools to empower people to get involved in amateur sports and education systems to be aware of bullying, harassment, sexual abuse, hazing, all those things. And so Stan Bowman has been part of that for a long time. Great. He needs to continue for this hire to remotely be worthwhile. I know some will judge it on a Stanley Cup, and that's fair. For me personally, it'll be more than just that, because that's one thing. So when I look at today, I'm always a glass full, half glass full guy, and I wouldn't have made the hiring. I've said that. But now that it's been made, can Bowman use his position, which especially in Canada is one that has a lot of notoriety? You can influence people. And don't say, well, this is just hockey. I'm done. And I hate the worst thing someone can say is stick to sports. Just work about sports. Why? Because let me know if sticking to sports has helped us in any fashion improve the plight of sexual abuse victims. Has it lowered it? No, it hasn't. I would argue we've gone backwards in that regard. You can't even use the word rape now. Everything's sexual abuse. Well, rape was too hard to visualize. I couldn't do it. So can we not say it? Oh, great. So all you do now is you push victims of rape deeper into anonymity and into a deeper hole of self-loathing. And the time has come for change. If we never ask and demand it won't happen. So I'll tell you, I will want to see how Stan Bowman takes that position and then walks the walk. We'll come back. We have Sheldon Kennedy. Also, we will hear from Rick Westhead, because some of his investigative journalism, had some countering reports to the other report that came out. We got Who Is It Wednesday. We will take a little bit of a break. We'll have some fun in the 3:00 hour. Ben Pope will join us from Chicago, the Blackhawks organization. Where are they at in all of this? We got Spec, 5 questions, and much, much more. We get lots of your thoughts. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our email inbox.
You don't work for GMC, but it's kind of like you do, because you pay what we pay. GMC employee pricing is on now on all 2024 GMC Sierra half-tons and Hummers. Oh, but at Wolf GMC Buick, it's even better. Get GMC employee pricing on every in-stock 2024 GMC. If it's new and a 2024 and it has that beautiful GMC logo on it, then it's GMC employee priced. Pay what we pay, but only until July 25th. Get into Wolf GMC Buick now and see the over 200 GMCs in stock.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
Be melancholy, not melancholy. Summer is ripe for fun, and some Booster Juice bestsellers are back in season. Watermelon smoothies, including the refreshing Watermelon Wave, a berry burst of strawberries, raspberries, pomegranate, and vanilla frozen yogurt, and fan favorites, Watermelon Explosion, a refreshing burst of bananas, mangoes, and pineapple, both made with watermelon sorbet and probiotic yogurt. All of the watermelon, none of the seeds. Visit a Booster Juice near you today or download the Booster Rewards app.
Mr. Rooter sends his daughter to university.
You're sure you don't want to go to plumbing school?
No, Dad.
I want to be a civil engineer so I can plan the sewers.
What a dreamer. I have a surprise. Your dad, Mr. Ruda, is going to pay your tuition.
Oh my gosh, really?
Here you go.
Oh, coins. Why are they so dirty?
Well, it's every coin I ever snaked out of a toilet. You're welcome, sweetheart.
For an A-plus plumbing experience, call Mr. Rooter.
Jonathan and Murray are friends.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. Except when they talk about which stadium is more fun in the summer.
Dude, Commonwealth has Elks Fan Park. Tailgating at its finest.
But it can't compare to the old ballpark in the River Valley. Riverhawks games are electric. But ask them who makes the best beef jerky in Alberta, and they'll tell you.
Wilhauk Beef Jerky.
It's the only thing everyone can agree on. So, pick some up for your summer pregame snack.
Wilhauk Beef Jerky, because you don't win friends with salad.
I take possession of my commercial space in 3 months. I need lighting. I need a fire alarm. I need data. I need a generator. I need panels.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Projects team reporting. We design, build, and construct all the electrical systems for your projects. Need everything to work right? Get the Action Electrical project team on your site.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Centre. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Centre's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit edmontonexpocentre.com today.
Hey, it's Scott from Sherwood and St. Albert Dodge. It's our final clear out of classic Ram 1500 trucks, and I do mean final. This is your last chance to get 25% off a brand new Ram truck. We still have some inventory left, but when they're gone, they're really gone. Or get an iconic Jeep Wrangler with up to $7,500 off. 0% financing available on every model. And we have a couple of the rare 500 horsepower 392 Wranglers in stock now. St. Albert and Sherwood Dodge, Edmonton's best rated Ram and Jeep dealers.
With you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. The Gregor Show is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website, where 100% of the revenue stays right here in the lovely province of Alberta at PlayAlberta.ca. Let's get to our big guest of the day, brought to you by the Female Super League. It's designed to elevate female youth hockey. The FSL will provide a platform for 12U and 14U players to develop and improve their skills. Learn more for your daughter at femalesuperleague.com. We are joined now by a former NHLer, and I think maybe more importantly, he owns and operates Respect Group, where they train thousands of people with messages and tools to empower them who are involved in amateur sports and the education system to prevent bullying, harassment, abuse, sexual abuse, hazing, and more. Sheldon Kennedy joins us. Sheldon, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good. I'm really good, Sheldon. I appreciate you coming on. It was great touching base with you again after the press conference today. And I wanted to get you on because obviously, you know what, this is you know better than everybody. Sexual abuse is a very touchy subject and can invoke a lot of emotions for a lot of people, good and bad. And so Stan Bowman, I want to make it 100%. He was never the perpetrator. So there's a very big difference here. He was involved in a position that maybe could have said something more, but very different than the guy like Brad Aldrich, who was the actual perp. But how, in your teachings and talkings and conversations with Stan over the last few years, kind of what was like the first part of your conversation to want to help educate him in what he could do better in a future situation?
Well, I mean, I think what you just said, Jason, is absolutely bang on. And these are difficult subjects that have immense impact on individuals that have been hurt in this way. And so, we never met before. We didn't really know each other. And, I heard from a person that wanted to learn. And I think, and from that point forward, I think that we chatted, we communicated, and we discussed, what could have been done different? What could have he have done in his role so that this wouldn't have happened? And I think that's where we started. And I think, for me to believe that somebody's, willing to change or willing to acknowledge their wrongdoings, it's about humility, and it's about being able to admit that, they did have a role to play in an individual being harmed in this way. And we know it as being a bystander. And, even though we know Stan, did bring the issues to the individuals that needed to hear it, there was more that he could have done with the follow-up. And we know that the majority of sexual abuse incidences, cases, not just in hockey, but in society as a whole, there's many bystanders. And, and I've met a lot of people that have, discussed with me their regret and sadness about how they wish they could have done more. So, I think, what I've learned about Stan is he's a guy that wanted to learn how he could be better.
And you know what? I think, especially Sheldon, the reason I want to get you on, because, you're a survivor of it. And, I liked in your press conference, you talked about, hey, when I first came out and spoke about my story, people were ripping on me saying, you know what, you shouldn't have said it. You're a liar, etc. Like it's not easy to come out and say, hey, this happened to me, because a lot of people, are very, they don't want to hear about it. Right. Like it's a difficult one. I've had many conversations. My mother's a survivor of sexual abuse at a young age. And, there's in a lot of families that they don't like to talk about it. So when there's that, when people are that close to a victim and they don't want to talk about it, how do you get even bystanders comfortable standing up for others?
Well, it's very difficult. And I think, what we talk about and what we try to do is create a confidence around discussion around these issues. Like that's, we need to be able to build a confidence around issues that predominantly carry a significant amount of fear. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think, if I relate it to Jason, like my first treatment center or my first counseling session, I couldn't even, somebody asked me how I felt. I had no clue how to explain how I felt. I had no clue even to know where to start. But you know what, over time, if I kept going back and I kept showing up and I kept prioritizing that in my life, I can describe how I feel in a fairly clear way. I feel today, but it takes time. And I think that, in an organization, we need to be able to prioritize psychological safety and have clear direction and practice these types of tools within the group, so that if an incident like this happens or any other incident, there's a confidence within the group. That's not the elephant in the closet. We know clearly how to address it, how to communicate it. And, most of the time, when we've done tens of thousands of child abuse investigations, and 98% of the perpetrators know their perpetrators, and over 50% of the perpetrators is a parent or caregiver. So the reality is that the majority of these cases are very, very close to home. They carry a whole other set of baggage around, how dare you bring the shame on our family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I feel that, our best defense as an individual is to learn about it, to understand, and to be clear, because that is our role. Our role, we're never going to be able to save this person if something's happened to them, but what we can do is know clearly where to take them to let them get started to get help.
Sheldon Kennedy joins us. So you look at it from Stan Bowman's perspective, and he spent the last multiple years working with you, working with the charter, going around speaking to USA Hockey and other places. Now he's in a pretty prominent position, a very public position. And I look at this as much as I will evaluate Stan Bowman, the GM of his hockey moves, I'm really going to be evaluating him as Stan Bowman, the GM, who said he was going to further the cause. How do you see that happening, Sheldon, to make it a success where he's in a position where maybe more people will listen?
Well, I mean, Stan's, I think the table's been set for Stan to either to walk the walk or not. And, he's got to prove to people that, he's going to do it. I'm confident he will. But, I've had Stan heavily engaged and involved within the Central Alberta Child Advocacy Center in Red Deer, which is a charity that does every child abuse investigation in Central Alberta. He's been there. He's met with the CEO and Mark and the group, and the Oilers are big supporters of that. The Oilers Foundation, and so that's one way. But I think if Stan walks the walk and he creates and builds, a structure that encompasses, our skills to practice, our ability to communicate. And that's the biggest thing, is people don't know even where to start to communicate around these issues. And, so what does that look like around our team? What does that look like? And I think, I think Stan is a guy in his position that can be involved. He doesn't have to be everywhere, but be involved where he can have the biggest impact. And to me, I think his biggest impact is by walking the walk. And I go back to, my own situation, Jason. It's like, I could go around and tell people how, when I told my story that, I feel better and I feel better. But meanwhile, after I told my story, I was in 2 long-term treatment centers because, I wasn't better.
Yeah.
And I wasn't walking the walk. And I can't tell people how to do it if I wasn't doing it myself. And I felt that, the best way for me to teach people is to show them. And I think that, that's up to Stan. Stan needs to show people, and he needs to be able to, he doesn't need to go out and, be on the soapbox and pronounce everything he's doing. Just walk the walk, show people, keep doing what you're doing. And I think, he'll be okay.
You mentioned it's such an uncomfortable conversation to even start, right? So what do you say to those who, maybe somebody has a suspicion, and, it's awful to think that a lot of this happens from a caregiver or inside their own home. And so maybe an aunt, an uncle, a brother, or somebody knows. How do they start that conversation? What's the best way?
Well, I mean, for me, I know that, there's a lot of information. I know in Edmonton, it's the Zebra Center. I know in Calgary, it's the Luna Center. And I know in Central Alberta, it's the Sheldon Kennedy Center of Excellence, or Central Alberta Child Advocacy Center. I know in Grand Prairie, it's the Caribou Center. And, that's what they do. And they can give advice. And I think our job a lot of times is to really seek out advice and guidance in how do we help? What do we do? And, and how do we, because again, a lot of times people are going to be very protective. I know, if I wasn't approached properly back, and I was, I had the best psychiatrist, the best treatment, facilities around, and I still never disclosed. And, I know back then we never really talked about the impact of trauma or abuse, but, still, I think at the end of the day, I feel that we're in a society today. I feel that people are a lot more willing to discuss these types of issues and understand these issues than we ever have been. And do we need to continue to be better in this? Somebody that's a parent or a brother or a sister or a friend or a grandpa or dad to somebody that we suspect is being abused, our best defense, how we help the most, is to educate ourselves and understand clearly what to do and what not to do. And I think that to me is something. I mean, if you look at the Graham Jameses of the world, I mean, they thrive on society's ignorance and indifference. And
Yeah.
if we can build up our self-confidence around these issues and understand it'll allow us to step up and step in. And a lot of times that's going to mitigate any further, worries or fears or abuse that might be going on.
Sheldon, thanks so much for this. Continue to do what you do. You're making such a massive change and helping so many. And, we have a long ways to go. We need more people like you. So continued success and continued great work. And hey, good luck with the potato farming. Hopefully the crop goes really well.
Thank you, Jason. Have a good day.
You betcha. That's Sheldon Kennedy. Yeah, I've never farmed potatoes. Like obviously we had a garden of potatoes, but we were talking a little potato farming, comparing it to, crops and hay and everything. So it's interesting. I've never really spoke to a potato farmer to the extent of the amount of potatoes that they're farming, man. It's that's a lot. So it's great. But what Sheldon does with his advocacy groups is amazing. It is, the numbers are staggering. It's really a hard topic to stomach, but I know my audience, and we've never shied away from hard conversations on our show. We raise a lot of money. We debate strongly about players on the power play, players in the penalty kill. We can do it all. There's no reason why you can't intertwine sports with wanting to make society a better place. I see zero reason. I know it's a sports show and the majority of our time is sports, but on days like today, I think it's appropriate to have the conversations that we're having. Don't worry, we'll have lots of sports talk too. That's coming up on Who Is It Wednesday. By the way, Old's member of 3 NHL organizations, a WHL champion, also holds his franchise record for 2 quickest goals to start a game by the same player. Some hints for you for Who Is It Wednesday. When we come back, Rick Westhead will join us. You're listening to Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook.
Rule number 12, not spending the afternoon tubing on the Pembina? Next, he'll tell us you don't wear flannel. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instance, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days, because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Well, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
The summer road lays ahead. Your potential destinations are endless. Volvo Cars Edmonton gives you choice to match. Right now, lease a 2024 Volvo XC90 from 0% for qualifying loyal customers. Or save $7,000 on all new 2024 XC60 recharge plug-in hybrid models. All demo vehicles come with a free 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty. No matter what you decide this summer will become, your first choice is Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest. Your Edmonton Riverhawks want to thank you for your support at our fan appreciation game this Sunday afternoon, featuring big-time prize giveaways, including an e-bike worth $5,000. Get your ticket to fun and watch the Hawks play at gohawks.ca.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches. We provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, contact Ted Nakamura at 780-940-0880 or visit silentrides.ca.
Hey, Elks fans.
Get on the Elks party bus for every home game at On the Rocks for only $35.
Included is a game ticket, round-trip transportation, and a prepaid Coors Light.
Reserve your spot now at ontherocks.com.
And OTR is your go-to for every Euro Cup game.
With $5.25 Heineken.
Their first major trophy. It's the ultimate football experience.
Canadian or European.
Only at On the Rocks.
Jasper Ave and 118th.
The Cheesy Burger Pizza is back at Papa John's. See what happens when you ask for it? Boom! Finally, it's on the menu again for a limited time. Get all the items in the Cheesy Burger Trio or choose between the large Cheesy Burger Pizza for $18.99, Cheesy Burger Papadilla for $9.99, and Bacon Cheesy Burger Papa Bites for $8.99. All made with sizzling beef, dilly pickles, ooey gooey cheese, and burger sauce. That's right, burger sauce. Get it before it's gone. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some Cheesy Burger Pizza at Papa John's.
Diablo Boots has been open for business for 60 years, selling Canadian-made quality boots. Diablo has Canada West work, biker, and cowboy boots with fixable soles and heels. So why buy boots like Area, Justin, or Red Wing that are made in China? Get your money's worth with Diablo's Canada West tough, comfortable work boots. So save on boots by Save On Foods, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save On Foods. And does Diablo sell the best boots in town? You betcha.
Jason Gregor, Declan Cougar for Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. We got a lot of text coming in. Rick Westhead is going to join us momentarily. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Hey guys, thanks for that interview with Sheldon. It was very insightful. That one comes from Michelle. Gregor, you're bang on. You have to be able to have hard talks along with fun ones. Otherwise, we don't learn how to get better. Great interview. Filthy from Calgary. Sheldon Kennedy, what a great man. Gregor, good on you for always finding the topics of conversation that hit home. That one comes from Doug. Well, Doug, I appreciate that. I think it's one where we don't want to shy away from the conversation, right? I know we have questions about it, and so we'll mix in some hockey ones. Hey, Gregor, what do you make of people who say Bowman wasn't good as a GM in Chicago? Where do you come out on it? Well, it's hard for me to how anybody could suggest somebody isn't good when their team won 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years. Right? Now, Stan Bowman, if the Oilers win the Cup next year, he would have significantly less credit than he would even have gotten his job in Chicago, because in Chicago, he started in 2001. And so he was part of the organization. I'm not saying he was the main decision maker by any stretch, right? He was assistant to the special advisor to the GM. Then he became director of hockey operations. Then he became the assistant general manager. Then he became the GM. So he worked his way up the organization. So he was there when they drafted Keith and Seabrook and all the other ones. Now, did he have the only main say in it? Of course not. The way teams work now, yeah, I don't I don't think even for him as a GM, you're going to have the main say in your amateur scouting because you're not the one who's out there in the rinks watching the players 40, 50 times a year. Otherwise, why do you hire Rick Bracey? Well, here, I'm going to give you my scouting report, but then I'm going to trust your judgment to say, well, I like how this guy looks. No, of course not. Not how the good organizations. Like, remember, Lou Lamoriello always gave Conte credit. Glenn Sather gave Barry Fraser credit for all his early draft picks that helped build the foundation of the orders. So there's always going to be different people who have different roles in your organization, and it's key to be the guy who can help massage it, keep it all intertwined. So Bowman, he didn't make a lot of moves as the GM in 2010, but he did make a lot of moves between 10 and 13. You know, they were competitive. They lost to LA in the conference final in 12. Good team. LA won the cup. That's what happens. Like, you can be a really good team and not win. That happens. Ask the owners. Then they won in 15. He's made lots of trades. I don't see how anyone could. It's like people who say Ken Holland didn't do a good job in Edmonton. Pardon? Ken Holland. Well, yeah, but he had McDavid and Draisaitl. Yeah. So did his predecessor. He made the playoffs once in 4 years. And really didn't come close in the 3 years he missed. Holland made the playoffs every year. Went to the conference final. Went to game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. I'd say he did pretty well. And he lost 2 of his best defensemen for a career-ending injury and due to a death in the family that's completely out of control of you as a GM. So, yeah, I think Stan Bowman did it. Was he perfect? God, no. And so when people point out that, you know what, hey, they fell off a cliff afterwards and you know what, signing Brett Seabrook long-term, yeah, you would hope that Stan Bowman says, okay, here's the mistakes I made from not being able to maintain. Now, they weren't going to maintain winning 3 cups in 6 years. That doesn't happen, right? But look at Glenn Sather. Do people view Glenn Sather as a bad GM because the Edmonton Oilers in the later stages weren't as good, right? They had to sell off some of his best players. You're not going to win any trade with Wayne Gretzky. You know, your owner needs $15 million, right? It's hard to. He actually did pretty well in the Coffey trade. Craig Simpson, good player. Now, he wasn't Paul Coffey good, but he helped him win a cup or 2. So you got some good player there. But eventually, you're going to, like, when you're trading off all your guys, you're going to lose. Now, in Chicago's case, you sign some guys long-term, then maybe like the Brent Seabrook one, tough one. That's where you say, okay, can I next time not let loyalty blind me to making the right decision? So we'll find out, right? We'll find out. So, but it's hard for me to say he wasn't good as a GM. No one's perfect. But he oversaw a team, and you can argue from 2011 to 2016, I think the Hawks had the most wins in the regular season. He was a GM for, I'm not even including 2010 when they won because he didn't make that many moves then. His real decision started after that year. And then they won 2 cups in 5 years. It's pretty impressive to me. I'd say he did a good job. But you're not going to maintain that, right? It's impossible. Salary cap, lots of other reasons. Guys get older. Maybe you get locked into a contract or 2 you don't like. So, we'll see. But, you know, like, I don't think I would hope Jeff Jackson is just going to sit around and do nothing. I would think this is going to be he used the word collaborate quite often in his press conference. So this should be a group collaboration to win. It won't just be Bowman. It won't just be Jackson. Right? It won't just be Bill Scott. It won't just be Brad Holland. It won't just be Keith Gretzky. It won't just be Rick Bracey. It's going to be all of them pulling the rope in the same direction. But at different times, somebody's taking the lead, depending on what they're doing. So we'll see. Like I said before, my original, and I didn't change from it. I wouldn't have done it because of, you know, the conversation will come away from it. But like I said, if Bowman continues to do all the work that he's been doing last year and the year before to educate, grow, learn, be vocal and consistent in supporting sexual abuse and harassment and all that stuff, and do it from a position of power now, well, then maybe there is a positive. But I need to see that. So I can't say it's going to work until I see it in motion. Who knows? Now let's go around the NHL, brought to you by Mick McDonald's, where you can stop in and, hey, you get a $1 ice cream cone, a $2 sundae, $2 milkshake right now only at McDonald's. As we welcome in from TSN investigative reporter Rick Westhead. Joins us. Rick, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Rick, I want to ask you, did you read the Jenner and Block report from the Blackhawks team regarding the organization's response to the allegation of sexual misconduct by their former coach? I'm assuming you read that whole report that came out, and
I would have read it. Yeah, dozens of times back when it came out in 2021.
Okay, so
if you recall, that report came out, and it really, after months of the Chicago Blackhawks saying that Kyle Beach's allegations were without any
merit,
air of reality. Yeah, they completely dismissed them. That report was the first time that Kyle's allegations were corroborated. And the day after that report came out, he came on TSN and did an interview with us for nearly half an hour straight. And we ran that unedited without any commercials. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you had obviously done interviews. You were the one who obviously spoke and broke that story publicly for the first time. I know that, in that report, it says there was never a letter or reference, but there was other ones that said, in lawsuits that there were. Do we ever get any 100% confirmation on what was and wasn't as far as letters or references for Aldrich?
Of course, what you're talking about is when Brad Aldrich kind of quietly at the end of the 2010 season, after the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup, he quietly left the organization and went on to coach at Miami University and then at a high school in Michigan. And in both of those places, of course, at Miami University, there was an incident of sexual misconduct there. And then many more people know about what happened in Houghton, Michigan, where he sexually assaulted a teenager. But the question you're asking kind of comes back to, well, to what degree did the Blackhawks, give him a letter of recommendation and say, go with our blessing, get the best job you can? I don't know if a letter was ever actually sent with someone's signature, whether it was Stan Bowman or another team official. But what we do know is that Brad Aldrich, after he left the Blackhawks, was given a Stanley Cup ring and a day with the Stanley Cup in Michigan. And isn't that validation in itself? Isn't a day with the Stanley Cup as good as or maybe better than a letter of recommendation from the Blackhawks?
Fair point. Especially when he went to the school that he ultimately 3 years later abused a boy at. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And just for people who haven't followed closely, we know from another investigation that was done at Miami University in Ohio that a 27-year-old male there filed a complaint in 2018 with the school's police saying that Aldrich had taken him under his wing and then committed a sexual offense against him in the fall of 2012. That case, however, was closed because the alleged victim dropped the case.
Yeah. Rick Westhead joins us. So, Rick, when you look at everything here, and we had Sheldon Kennedy on, and he's worked with Bowman and others to try to improve things. Where do you see this at right now? Kyle Beach and Bowman have spoken, and Beach, according to Jackson and Bowman, had said, he can get another opportunity. Where do you think this whole situation lies now? Is it a matter of, okay, people have shown some remorse, they've shown they clearly erred, or have you not seen enough of that for a guy who's been, investigating it closer than anyone else?
But I'm no expert on this. I'm a reporter, right? My job is not to pass judgment on people. I report what people tell me and the facts that I dig up. I would hope that we don't live in a place where someone can never have a second chance. And I listened to and watched Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson today, and I heard Stan Bowman talk about how he's done the work. Where my mind goes is, well, what does that actually mean? It's a real cliche, and this isn't a criticism of his, but just the way I process this is I want to know what that is. What does that mean when you're doing the work? Are you talking to people who are sexual assault survivors and really listening to them to understand what they've gone through and ways that things can be prevented like that? We can never get rid of this completely. The biggest lie that we tell ourselves is we have to make changes so these things never happen again. These incidents will happen again. The same lines were being trotted out more than 25 years ago when Sheldon Kennedy first went public with his abuse, right? And we know how that went. After a period of time, people's attentions shift. We focus on what we want to focus on, which is the fun of sports, the beauty of it, et cetera. Our gaze, it's just uncomfortable. We don't want to talk about this for too long. So I want to know what actually doing the work means. And I hope that Stan is true to his word and that he, does take a leadership position. And now that he's back in the NHL, if he does that, then that's great. Then there's one more person in a role like that that's going to be, I think he's been held accountable and he knows what that's like. And hopefully that'll inform his decisions moving forward. I thought the most interesting part of that press conference was when a reporter from CTV asked Stan whether he'd been in touch with John Doe 2, the teenage sexual assault victim of Brad Aldrich in Michigan. And my memory, correct me if I'm wrong, but Stan didn't really answer that question directly, other than to say that he, feels really bad for anybody who had to go through that situation. I'm curious, like Jason, would you think that in this situation, given the number of times we heard Stan Bowman say that he's talked to Kyle Beach, should there be an effort there to talk to John Doe number 2 and apologize for the organization's conduct?
It's a fair question. I know Jeff Jackson mentioned that he was a John Doe, and so he's anonymous. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could track them down. Now, maybe the person doesn't want to speak to you. That's it's kind of like when he reached out to Kyle Beach the first time and he didn't want to speak to him. So, and then I was curious: is there any could that John Doe number 2, if you publicly admit guilt, could he use that against you in court?
I don't know. Is that what it's going to come down to?
No, I have no idea. I'm just
the right thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I have no idea.
Yeah, like I heard Jeff Jackson. First of all, I'm not really sure it's on Jeff Jackson to reach out to John Doe number 2.
No, I would agree.
This didn't have anything to do with the Edmonton Oilers. It didn't have anything to do with Jeff Jackson. So I heard that question to him, and I thought, well, I'm not really sure why. But nevertheless, he answered it, and he said, well, we don't know who that is. Well, it would take one if an organization wanted to talk to John Doe number 2, it would take one phone call to the Chicago Blackhawks because they know who he is, right?
Yeah.
So you could have a private conversation brokered by the Blackhawks if you really wanted to. So I don't accept, even though I don't think it was on Jeff Jackson or anyone in the Oilers organization to find John Doe number 2, I don't accept that it was impossible to find this person because they're a John Doe. But we have phones and we can call another NHL team. But I just, coming back to it, I'm curious. Like, I really want to know whether, because Kyle Beach was a professional hockey player with the Blackhawks, Stan Bowman made a year-long effort to build a relationship and trust up with him and volunteered his time with the Trinity Western University hockey team. Why aren't we talking about this teenager in Michigan and whether he's found support over the last
100%.
years as well?
Yeah. But to me, that was my question about the devastating silence of no one ever, reaching out to Miami or Notre Dame or Houghton High School to say, hey, you might want to think twice about having Brad Aldrich around.
Yeah. And, I interviewed John Doe number 2's mother, and, the hair on the back of my neck still stands up when I think about the pain and anguish that was in her voice during our conversation. Her family was obliterated by what Brad Aldrich did.
Mm-hmm.
And the Blackhawks bear responsibility for that. And I think it also is fair to point out on a day like this that John Doe number 2 does not have the same opportunity that Stan Bowman has. Stan Bowman can sit at a lectern and share what he's learned over the last 2 years and be welcomed back into the NHL fold. John Doe number 2 signed a non-disclosure agreement with the Blackhawks. He is bound by that, and he does not have the ability to talk about his story unless and until the Blackhawks release him from that.
Now, he signed that for what? So they paid him off?
They signed, the same way that anyone in a civil settlement signs it. And you could say, and some people I'm sure will say very cynically, well, he chose the money. Well, put yourself in the shoes of a sexual assault survivor. You're a 17-year-old teenager whose life has been turned upside down. You may live in a state like Michigan where you don't know if you'll have access to therapy. You're going to have to pay for therapy, maybe for you and people in your family, and you do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
I I haven't been able to talk to him since, or his family, since that settlement was agreed to because of the non-disclosure agreement. But I just think that the spirit of those silencing victims, I think we, as a community, we should be asking questions about, whether victims should ever be bound by NDAs.
So, and that's a fair question. So even if Bowman would have wanted to, and Chicago says it's the NDA, now he's not part of the organization, could they have said, well, no, we're not giving you his information then? And said you can't talk to him? To John Doe number 2?
Well, you mean if Jeff Jackson wanted to
No,
talk to him?
if Stan Bowman wanted to, he's no longer a member of that organization, could they have said, no, we're not going to help you because we have an NDA with him?
Yeah, they could have, but maybe they wouldn't have. Maybe they would have said, yeah, we'll make that introduction. Or maybe, the Blackhawks have put on a new face, right? They are about being a better organization. They're about being better community members in their society in Chicago. So maybe if Stan had said that, the Blackhawks might have said, let's bring that family to Chicago and ask them how they're doing and what we can do to help them with their healing journey. I don't know.
Well, shouldn't they be doing that anyway? Like to me, it's somewhat hypocritical to say, hey, we're turning over a new leaf. But, oh, by the way, one of the victims of our errors, he doesn't get to talk.
That's well said.
Yeah, like that I don't like that. That is a bad look in my humble opinion. I know you've done a lot of investigative journalism on this, Rick. So I do have, and this is so this would be an opinion answer, but I'm going to ask it to you anyway. You mentioned how, and that's in civil cases, but even like when there's a victim of sexual abuse now, and even if they get the perpetrator, when they put it in the paper, they're like, so-and-so, they don't mention the perp's name because they're protecting the victim. And I wonder if does that actually help the victims? Do you think that, or is that something that as society, we might have to rethink that to say, this is actually maybe not working the way we think it's working. And all this does is it makes the victims feel even more nameless.
A good question. Again, I'm not an expert on this, just a reporter. But I think that the reason that the identities of some sexual predators are not disclosed is to protect the identities of their victims. People who are victims should have the choice about whether they want to be named or not, right?
Thank you. Okay.
And we know that in Canada, we have an open court principle. And what that means is if you're charged with a sexual offense, like Frank Stronach, a Canadian billionaire, is in his early 90s now, and he's been charged with historical sexual assaults dating back 50 years. And so people who are alleged to do these things, they are named publicly. And if you're convicted, you're also named publicly. The only time that you're not, that I know of, like kind of through and through, is if you are a member of a sports organization in Canada that does not have a public registry for people who have been sanctioned for misconduct. And, particularly in cases where victims have not felt comfortable going to the police and instead they go through, an organization, whether it's Hockey Canada or, some of the other national sport organizations, there's still, even after everything that we've heard over the last 3 years coming out of Kyle Beach and out of the Hockey Canada horrible allegations in London, Ontario, there are still organizations, Hockey Canada included, that do not make public the names of people who are sanctioned for off-ice misconduct or off-field misconduct. That's changing. Soccer Canada is going to introduce a registry this month. Basketball Canada is going to as well. Gymnastics Canada already has a public registry. Swim Canada has a public registry, and some of the provincial federations do as well. But like I said, it's an uncomfortable subject, and I think that there are still many organizations that would rather not think about this, not invest the time, not stir up the waves and create problems for themselves, and maybe legal exposure too if they start naming people who have been found guilty of misconduct. And you just hope, if you're some organizations, that this kind of passes and we stop talking about it.
Awesome stuff, Rick. I really appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time. Have a great day.
You too. Bye now.
That's Rick Westhead from TSN. Let's get to the Declan Kruger and a Sports 1440 update. We'll come back with Who Is It Wednesday Sports Update, brought to you by Booster Juice. Stop in right now and try the Watermelon Wave. It is back, as well as the Watermelon Explosion. Download the Rewards app and get it today only at Booster Juice.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update news out of the hockey world surrounding the Edmonton Oilers, as the Oilers have hired Stan Bowman as general manager and executive VP of hockey operations, making him the first former Chicago Blackhawks executive rehired by an NHL team since the club's 2010 sexual assault scandal. The league did reinstate Bowman earlier this month, and Bowman, age 51, ran the Blackhawks when they won their Stanley Cups in 2010, 13, and 15. Scores around the MLB right now. It's the Rockies leading the Red Sox 13-3 in the bottom of the sixth. Astros up on the Athletics 4-1 in the middle of the sixth. And at the top of the fifth, the Mariners lead the Angels 1-0. Some finals from earlier today was the Reds over the Braves in game one of their doubleheader 9-4. Pirates blanking the Cardinals 5-0. Twins over the Phillies 5-4. And the Brewers over the Cubs 3-2. Later today, in about 2 hours' time, we will see the Toronto Blue Jays in action as they play host to the Tampa Bay Rays, and it will be Rodriguez on the mound in that one. Up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by our Who Is It Wednesday guest. I'm Declan Kruger. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
What's cracking at Cattail Crossing? Every Friday after 4 p.m., it's 9 and Dine Fridays. Includes golf for two with a power cart at Cattail Crossing and a $50 food voucher at Out of Bounds Restaurant. Only $119.99. Tea times can be booked at cattailcrossing.ca.
Hey, it's Brad McCory here from St. Albert Dodge. I'm here to say you do not want
This is the Jason Gregor Show.
100 trucks. It really is your last chance to drive a brand new Ram truck off the lot with 25% off. When these are gone, they're gone.
You don't.
Or how about a Jeep Wrangler with up to $7,500 in savings and 0% financing on every model? Come see how we earn our industry-leading 4.6 Google review rating. You're going to love how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Excavators, loaders, lifts, compaction equipment, and more. Find the XCMG construction equipment you need. Available for rental or sale at Japa Machinery Group. Japa, helping build Alberta from the ground up for 50 years. Visit japamachinery.com.
Silent Rides is one of Alberta's premier bus charter companies with state-of-the-art motor coaches. We provide our customers with the safest and most reliable ground transportation. Our seatbelt-equipped buses have become the preferred carrier for many local sports teams, tours, corporate outings, and other various travel across Western Canada. For more information and to request a quote, contact Ted Nakamura at 780-940-0880 or visit silentrides.ca.
Hey, Elks fans.
Jackpot! Touchdown!
Get on the Elks party bus for every home game at On the Rocks for only $35.
Included is a game ticket, round-trip transportation, and a prepaid Coors Light.
Reserve your spot now at ontherocks.com.
And OTR is your go-to for every Euro Cup game.
With $5.25 Heineken.
Their first major trophy.
It's the ultimate
football
experience.
Canadian or European.
Only at On the Rocks.
Jasper Ave and 118th.
Albatross Roofing and Construction is hiring experienced flat roofers and sheet metal fabricators and installers in Edmonton. Must have SBS modified bitumen experience and valid CSTS certification. Enjoy top wages, benefits, and career growth. Apply at roofingalbatross.ca. Join their expert team today.
CW Eves Troughing is busy. That's why they're looking for experienced troughers to run one of their trucks. To get paid top rates, contact CW Eves Troughing at 780-435-1492 or email info@cweves.com.
The Brick is serving up incredible deals on items in every department. Find up to 25% off dining and bedroom packages, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $840 off sectionals and sofas. Find everything you need to outfit your home this summer, from kitchen appliances and dining sets to mattresses and electronics. Take advantage of our amazing block party prices and fun family activities. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Employee pricing is on now at Chevrolet. Right now, get up to $10,500 off select Silverado 1500 High Country Crew Cab models. With an available 6.2-liter V8 engine and standard Chevrolet safety assist, including forward collision alert, getting out of the city and having a nice, quiet day on the beach is easier than ever this season. So relaxing. Ask your Chevrolet advisor for details.
Are you afraid of losing your car or home due to debt? Don't let fear or shame hold you back from seeking help. Bankruptcy is not the only option. A consumer proposal can reduce your monthly payments, lower your overall debt, and allow you to keep your assets. My name is Parveen Middleton. I'm a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO here in Edmonton. I'm here to help you tackle your debt. Take the first step towards regaining control of your finances. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to learn more.
$14.40 Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca, and it is summertime, so use the promo code SUMMER, and you'll get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca. And it's time for Who Is It Wednesday. Our Who Is It Wednesday guest, of course, was a fourth-round draft pick, is in his third NHL franchise, won a WHL title with the Prince Albert Raiders. Also owns a franchise record for his first NHL team for 2 quickest goals to start a game. It happened in Edmonton, so you might remember that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I do. I was there. And I watched quite a few of his games. From now the Ottawa Senators, Noah Gregor. Noah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You must remember that game. Was that your first 2-goal game too?
Yeah, first 2-goal game. I remember it vividly. It's a pretty cool game to score 2 in front of the families and friends. So it was great.
In the first 3 minutes and 16 seconds, I think it was.
Yeah, it happened quick, and the coach kept me out to try and get the Hattie in the same shift. So that would have been pretty cool. But I'll take the 2.
I do remember Logan Couture. Actually, and Who Is It Wednesday? We always kind of go back a little bit for people to get to know kind of where people came from. You were a hockey guy right from a young age. Your older brother played, so you got into it right away. Do you remember your first, what's your first hockey memory?
First hockey memory for me would probably just be playing, street hockey or in the basement at our first place we grew up in Beaumont. We had the unfinished basement, and I spent a lot of time down there with my brother and my parents. They painted on the blue lines, the red lines in the basement before they had it finished. So that was probably my earliest memory of playing hockey. On the ice, it would probably be a little later than that. To be honest, I don't know how far back I can go. I have a terrible memory. Maybe Adam Provincials would be maybe one of the first ones. So I don't know how old you are now, Adam. Not
like 9.
Older than I should remember, probably.
Yeah, you're
9.
9.
9-ish. I think we hosted provincials that year, so that was pretty fun.
Now, did you ever play defense? I don't even remember. Did you ever play defense?
No, always
you played
offense.
Goal once, I think, right?
Yeah, I played a few games in novice in net. I always liked playing goal because my brother Liam would always put me in the net. So I always liked it, but not as much on the ice. It was a little harder on ice than on the street.
Yeah, so you like the road hockey goaltender?
Yes,
basically.
yes.
Yeah. What did you? Because I have lots of people always ask, how did you get your shot so good? What was it? Just volume, or did you have a shoot? Did someone give you a tip at a young age on how to shoot properly?
I mean, besides my dad and my brother, not really. I think just a lot of practice, a lot of volume. I spent my entire days growing up until I was probably, 13, 14, just every single day playing hockey, shooting pucks, playing road hockey on the ice a lot. So no like real shooting coach or anything. I think just having family that grew up with hockey definitely helped me.
And you, I think, played spring hockey one time.
Yeah.
You, I think when you were 12 or 13, something like that. You were always, your dad was pretty adamant in other sports. Like, what were your other sports that you loved?
Yeah, well, growing up, I played basically everything from a young age. Played soccer in the summers, basketball, baseball. But my favorites were basketball and baseball. I probably played those the latest. I think grade 7 or 8, I played on the junior high basketball team. And then I played baseball up until around the same age as well in the summers. So those are my two favorites. And then kind of hockey takes over at a certain age, and you kind of have to pick your sport, and obviously it was hockey for me.
You picked your sport. You liked it. Did you find when you had to, because you played basketball even, and you were kind of like a late grower, I think, to say it, because when you were like your first year Bantam AAA, you were like 5'2", like you're pretty short.
Yeah, no, for sure, probably 5'2", 25 maybe. I think my dad would have the records on that, but. Yeah, I was a late bloomer. Got a bit of a growth spurt going into my second year Bantam and kind of into the Bantam draft. I grew a little bit, but I was still on the shorter side. I was probably 5'8", maybe 5'9", going into my first junior camp in Victoria, and then obviously got a couple more inches throughout my later teens. But yeah, it took a little bit to grow.
So you got drafted by Victoria, but before you even played for them, they traded your rights to Moose Jaw as they were going for a title, and that's usually what happens. They trade a young prospect, and so you go to Moose Jaw, and you're 16 years of age. How was the transition moving away from home at 16?
I think it was more exciting for me than anything. Obviously, hockey was what I always wanted to do, and I knew the WHL was kind of the route I always wanted to do with my dad playing in the league. So it was more just excitement for me. And then kind of as the season goes on, you go a long stretch without seeing your parents and my brother and my sister. So it does start to weigh on you a little bit. But I had incredible billets in Moose Jaw, great roommate the entire time I was there. Still very close with my billets and the roommate as well. So they made it a lot easier on me.
So you go to Moose Jaw, and Braden Point, who's obviously now a pretty elite player in the National Hockey League, he was your captain. What can you talk? Because we had Rick Westhead on, and we've talked about hazing and different things like that in junior. He was a captain of your team, and my understanding is that there wasn't any of that when he was there. Is that correct? Like for you, like was it a pretty easy adjustment coming?
No, yeah. The veterans on that team when I was 16, 17 were unbelievable. They were super great to myself and a lot of the younger guys. No hazing things that that I can remember besides maybe having to pick up pucks after practice, having to do stuff like that. Clean the bus after a road trip, but nothing crazy. And that honestly made junior hockey so much easier for myself, as having the older guys kind of want the younger players to be a big part of the team. And we had myself and a few other young players that were kind of got thrown in and played a lot of minutes at a young age. So I think maybe that was another reason they really want to help these younger guys onto the team and really show them the ropes and show how to be a good teammate. And I have nothing but good things to say about my players in Moose Jaw.
When did you think Noah Gregor joins us from the Ottawa Senators? When did you think, maybe even getting drafted? Was it your draft year you thought about it? Was it a year before? Like, when did you think that hockey might be a possibility professionally?
I think for me, it was probably my first year in midget. I had a really strong year, was able to lead the Alberta League in points. And I think after that season, I kind of started to feel that I was, a pretty good hockey player. And, that kind of kept going into junior. But junior had definitely some ups and downs. Missed basically my whole 16-year-old year with injury, and then had a really good year at 17. And then things were kind of up and down for a couple of years. So I wouldn't say I knew I was going to the NHL at that point. I thought I had a really good chance, but I think at 15 was when I started to really think about it more and say, hey, if I really dedicate myself and stick to it, I have a chance at least.
You mentioned those years, and then you end up in your 20-year-old season. The San Jose Sharks, Doug Wilson was the GM then. They'd been like the winningest team in the NHL for a long time. And he opted to send you back to junior at 20 rather than go to the American League. Lots of guys would get a no because you're like, well, I should be going pro now. How was that? How'd that conversation go? How did he bring it up to you?
I think there wasn't a whole big conversation about it, really. They went through main camp with the Sharks, went down to the American League with the Barracuda, played a couple exhibition games, and it was really just, hey, we're sending you back to junior. Go play a ton, do your thing, and you'll be back next year. We still appreciate your game. We like your game, so just go and build on it. To be honest, I was pretty pissed that I got sent down. I thought I was ready to go play pro. But, going back to Prince Albert and the team they had that year was, looking back now, probably the best thing that ever happened to me, to go back and really kind of dominate a league as a 20-year-old, kind of what you're supposed to do, being a signed player, and played every situation. Got to go on a long playoff run and win a championship. So that was, really a big part of my development, I think, and helped me a lot going into pro the next year.
Like, I know we're going to have Shane Malloy on the show tomorrow, and he's actually talked a lot about, he's a huge, and he's been scouting for over 20 years. He's a huge believer that more teams wreck players by sending them to the American League at 20 rather than back to junior. Now, you might be biased because you did it, but, and he talked about how the physical stature, but also even just the mental and thinking and processing the game that most players, there's obviously, there's McDavids and the freak shows that are different, but the majority of players, and even really good players, don't really understand the game at that speed just yet. Where do you come out on that? And do you think there's something to that? Like, just even the physical stature of going against men at 20, can be really challenging for a lot of players.
Yeah, it's a huge adjustment. And I think you see a lot of, really good junior players coming in pro, and they struggle a little bit. Definitely at the first start of the season or throughout the season, they'll have dips where, the American League's a really tough league. A lot of good players are in the American League. It's a heavier game. It's a little scramblier, I would say, at times. So it's harder for skilled players to really get their touches in and kind of find their confidence and, kind of create offense. And it can be tough for a lot of guys. So I think there's no problem at all in taking an extra year in development or an extra couple months, whatever the case may be for each player. There's really no rush to get to the NHL. If you're a good enough player, you're going to get there.
Noah Gregor joins us from the Ottawa Center. So then you go to the Sharks, and you go, and now you're 21 years of age. You get you get sent down. You play in the preseason. You start in the American League. I think you play like 6 games, and then they call you up. Were you shocked when you got called up?
I was a little shocked. Yeah, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect really much my first year pro on NHL games or making the NHL. But I had a really strong start in the American League and was the first guy that kind of got the call when I don't know if there was players injured or what the case was when I got called up, but I was a little surprised and shocked, but obviously so excited, so thankful to have an opportunity to play some NHL games. And that kind of was the start of my career.
And you went into an organization that had Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, Patrick Marleau, Brent Burns, like some huge personalities, like elite players. Like Thornton's a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no question in my mind. And I think some of those other guys maybe, will be consideration for it at some point. Even Erik Karlsson later in your time there. So, lots of really good players. Do you remember like how was Joe Thornton? When you come up as a young 20-year-old, Joe's, I don't know, at that point, got to be 37, 38. Had massive beard.
Yeah.
How was your first introduction to Joe Thornton?
I would say just a presence. He's a big man. I didn't realize how big he was. He's 6'4" on probably the short side. He's massive, big beard, huge personality. You can hear his voice throughout the entire, facility. But he was awesome. He's treats everyone really well. Didn't matter if you were a rookie, veteran. He's talking to everyone. He wants to know what's going on in your life, wants to know what's happening. And then obviously his work ethic was second to none. He's out there before every single practice, before every single pre-skate, working on a ton of kind of the stuff that he excels at. He's working at pucks behind the net, making plays out front, picking up pucks off the boards. He's doing that every single day, and it was really cool to see him and Burns as well. Those two guys kind of worked in sync in those sort of drills, and it was really cool to see just how long these guys have been doing it for and how much they still enjoy doing it.
Did you ever go try exotic food with Burns? Because he has we've had him on the show before, and he has no fear when it comes to trying very unique types of foods.
Yeah, no, I never got to try anything too crazy, but obviously Burnsy lives a pretty interesting lifestyle, and he loves to
Did you ever go to his ranch?
Never got out to his ranch either, but I remember a story when we were in training camp. We were out in Arizona that year because it was the COVID season. We weren't allowed in San Jose to practice. The city wouldn't let us in. So we went and had our training camp in Arizona. And I remember Burnsy had his truck out in the parking lot, and he had a big smoker. He was smoking up. I think what I heard, he was smoking up zebra burgers. So that was
you didn't go
pretty
try
funny
one?
to see. No, I didn't get out there, but that was the rumor going around that he was smoking up zebra burgers.
Why, are you scared of eating exotic food?
I would have tried it. Tried it.
All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about being around that team, and then going from San Jose in a losing team to the biggest market in the National Hockey League and the insanity that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Gather around the radio, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the word. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance.
We'll take a quick...
Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
Rule number 116. In Waterton, walk with a lean. The wind will always prop you up. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instants, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days. Because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Move Water is your one-stop shop for all things water. From freshwater to wastewater, we've got the pumps and solutions to keep your water moving where it matters most.
Move Water, your water solution experts.
Visit movewater.ca today.
What a season. What a ride. Congratulations on an incredible season from GS Construction. Whether you're a laborer, pipe layer, or pipe layer's helper, lead hand, operator, top man or woman, or water and sewer foreman, GS Construction has room for you on their team. GS Construction, celebrating 50 years of laying the groundwork of Edmonton and communities throughout Alberta. Let's get to work. Get started today at gsconstruction.ca.
Be melon jolly, not melancholy. Summer is ripe for fun, and some Booster Juice bestsellers are back in season. Watermelon smoothies, including the refreshing Watermelon Wave, a berry burst of strawberries, raspberries, pomegranate, and vanilla frozen yogurt. And fan favorite, Watermelon Explosion, a refreshing burst of bananas, mangoes, and pineapple, both made with watermelon sorbet and probiotic yogurt. All of the watermelon, none of the seeds. Visit a Booster Juice near you today or download the Booster Rewards app.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is still the #1 company for families who don't want to see dad in his underwear. Come on, we warned you about a heat wave a while ago, and lo and behold, here we are. So call Legacy now before the heat wave convinces dad to cool down in a kiddie pool in your front yard. Yeah, we still got air conditioners in stock, and yes, you won't have payments or interest for 1 year. Keeping dad from bathing in public during a heat wave. That's how you save your legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Some people see their RV as a way to travel the countryside and explore the great outdoors. For others, it's more like a summer cottage. Sure, it's got wheels, but that doesn't mean that you have to roll it around all the time. And I know someone who uses his RV exactly like this. It's Rick Showers from No Bull RV. Hey Rick, when was the last time you hooked up your trailer and took it somewhere?
Been years, Bob.
You just leave it in one place?
Well, you have to see our campsite. It's near Seba Beach. There's lots of privacy. It's a heavily wooded area, but very close to the lake, with full water and electrical hookup. So my wife Deanna and I enjoy cottage life with all its beauty and all the comforts of home.
And the RV you use as a cottage, did you buy it new?
Bob, what are you, nuts? I can happily find you an RV as nice as mine. Got dozens of them on the lot right now. And Deanna and I are living proof that you don't have to pay new RV prices to live the dream.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
YouTube and Facebook. How are you doing? Also listen if you're streaming live at sports1440.ca. We appreciate the Gregor Show presented by playalberta.ca. Alberta's only regulated online gambling website where not only that, of course, it is Lotto 649. If you want to get your tickets, 30 million up for grabs tonight. Nobody won the max millions last night, so it'll be 70 mil with 12 max mills on Friday's draw. Get your tickets, playalberta.ca. Noah Gregor from the Ottawa Senators is our guest in studio on Who Is It Wednesday. So you start with the Sharks, and you play basically 4 seasons with them. You start out in the 2020 season. You're a little bit in the American League, and then you go to the NHL. And then COVID comes, and that had to be, as a young guy just trying to find his footing in the league. How, maybe it's hard because you didn't know what it would be like if you didn't have it, but what were the biggest, was it hard to feel part of a team when you guys didn't get to spend a lot of time together?
Yeah, that season was a little tricky. I think especially in San Jose, like I said, we weren't allowed to play out of our own rink for a few months. We started on the road. And then, having the taxi squad, and I was kind of up and down from the taxi squad and the NHL squad. So you were kind of always on different teams almost. I don't think the taxi squad was practicing with the main group. And then I was down a little bit that year as well. So it was just a different year. I think, any year in the NHL is great, but that year was a little tricky to kind of navigate and kind of get your footing and get settled into the season. So it was a little bit difficult in that sense.
So after 4 years in San Jose, last summer, well, actually, no, I guess it was last, you sign a PTO with Toronto, then you sign a contract with them. You go from San Jose where, the team had been great for a long time, right? They obviously accommodated with them losing the Stanley Cup final 2016. And then it kind of started slowly going downhill. When you got there, they weren't a playoff team and weren't really close to being a playoff team. And so the fan base is dwindling at the games. Then you go to Toronto in a Canadian market. How can you describe the most obvious differences from San Jose to Toronto from a player perspective?
Yeah, there's a few for sure. I think just the the attention that the players get in Toronto it's probably the most in the entire NHL, really. The coverage we get is crazy. You get a ton of Hockey Night in Canada games. You get a ton of media that come into the room every day. That was probably one of the bigger things I noticed, is just the amount of media that's in the room after practices or morning skates. You go from, the 5 or 6 regular guys in San Jose that you know really well to 20, 30, depending on the game. If it's, if you're playing Montreal, there might be 50, 60 media members in there. So that was definitely a big thing you notice. And then Toronto's, just the way the organization run is second to none. The meals we get, the training staff, the medical staff, nutritionists, really anything that the players need is available, and everyone wants to help. Everyone is looking to help you, and that was something that really helps the players, make you feel comfortable and make you feel like everyone's kind of working together to help the players out.
I see some people always suggest, playing a Canadian market's harder because, the fans are more rabid, whether it's Edmonton or Vancouver or Toronto. You played in a market where the fans weren't rabid. Would you rather be in a Canadian market where it is like, the fan base lives, eats, and breathes hockey?
Tough to say if I would rather pick one or the other. I loved my time in San Jose. They have great fans there as well. But Toronto is, the hockey mecca of the world. I had so much fun there. The fans are incredible. They treat the players, really well. In my experience, anytime someone would come up to me on the street, which was rare for me, to be honest. I'm not going to sound like I'm getting recognized, but everyone was super nice. And it was awesome. Restaurants love to have the players there. Whether it's going to concerts and people, want to see the players out there. It's really fun. And then just inside the rink, the excitement that Canadian fans bring and how much they love the game. It was really special to play there in Toronto. And now going to Ottawa, another Canadian city, it's going to be, a lot of the same.
I know Connor McDavid in Edmonton nowadays, just, social media and everything. Like, I think beforehand, even though there were rabid fan bases, some of the players could get around, maybe not as noticeable as they used to be. And nowadays it's virtually impossible. How was it for a guy like, you're not Austin Matthews, right? Like, how is it for, and obviously he was your teammate, like when you went out with a guy like Matthews in Toronto, how was it for him?
I think for him, it's definitely a lot trickier than a guy like me. I can go around most places and no one's really going to know who I am. Or if they do, it's just a quick, hey, nice to meet you, keep going. But a couple times I was out with Matthews and just at a restaurant or a bar, and it's, he doesn't go out too often, I think, just to avoid certain things, but it's a mob that comes after him, probably similar to if Connor were out at, any establishment in Edmonton. It's, a lot of people are going to recognize you. And I think he really appreciates the fans, but if there's, 50 to 100 people that come and are asking for pictures when you're out at a restaurant, I think that could weigh on you. I don't know. I'm not Austin, but I know he loves playing there. But that's kind of just comes with the territory.
Now, Matthews he's a pretty good teammate in this. Like, didn't he buy you guys lots of different things?
A few gifts this year. Actually, we got a couple nice gifts from a few players, which was pretty cool. When Nylander signed his new contract, and then Austin signed his at the start of the year. They got a couple nice gifts for all the players and the staff, so that was really nice.
Like, what did you get for a gift?
Matthews got us some slippers and some shoes, and then
slippers,
like UGG slippers for around the house.
Oh, okay, UGGs. UGG slippers?
Yeah.
Are they comfortable? You wear them?
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I wear them around the house all the time.
Okay.
Some shoes, and then Nylander got us all wallets, so a couple nice gifts.
Now, I noticed he was riding the transit to the games a few times. There was even pictures of him. I think you guys had outdoor practice or something, and he's on his gear on the. Did you take the? Was he the only guy who rode the subway, or was he just the one guy who was on pictures all the time on the subway?
I never did. I think the area he lives in, it makes a lot of sense for him to take the train. You actually cut out a lot of traffic time.
Okay.
I know a few guys have said that when they were living downtown, they did use the train or they just walked to the rink because it can be pretty tricky to get to the rink sometimes in the heavy Toronto traffic. But yeah, that was kind of crazy that how much that blew up when Willie was on the train.
Your first opportunity to play in the postseason came this season. Can you describe how different the game is in the playoffs to the regular season?
It's a huge difference. Obviously, being my first time, the excitement in the rink. Everyone's there for warm up. The rink is packed. The intensity is a lot higher. I came in games 6 and 7, and I think games 1, 2, and 3 were crazy. Everyone's hitting everything. I think the series physically kind of calmed down a little bit, but the speed was always there. Every kind of play matters in a playoff series, and it adds that much intensity to the series. But I think that playing in the playoffs again kind of reminds you why you're playing the game, and it's to be in those situations. It's to win. And it was so much fun to play in that series. Unfortunately for us, it didn't go the way we wanted, but it was a great experience for me to get in those games.
You go from Toronto, you're a free agent. You sign on day one in Ottawa. Is that an easy decision when it's basically Ottawa, Toronto? I guess Montreal would probably be their biggest rival. I would think maybe Boston lately, but there's still a pretty healthy Toronto Ottawa rivalry. Is that an easy decision for a young player? Could you say, hey, they offer me a contract. This is business. It's nothing personal. Because I know Toronto had offered you one as well. So was it a challenge to decide?
Yeah, it was difficult. I really enjoyed my time in Toronto. The rivalry thing doesn't play a huge part into my decision making. I know I was obviously there for only one season, and our games. There was a pretty big moment that happened with Riley cross-checking Ridley. So there was one game there. I think that was the last time we played them though. So. But yeah, I think the opportunity just kind of fit with me in Ottawa, and I'm really excited to get going.
Why did the empty net clapper bug everybody so much?
Well, I think it was a bit of I've never seen that before. It's a bit of a wild play to go take a full clapper into the empty net. I'm gonna have to ask Ridley when I get there what he was thinking on that play. But I mean, you put the puck in the net. He scored a goal, and I think we acted the way we acted, and we're going to stand behind Morgan and what he did in that play. But I'm sure Ridley's going to have his own side.
What was interesting about it is your team. It was almost like you rallied around it. Your team's top defenseman suspended, and you don't lose a game.
Yeah, that was huge for our team to have our best defenseman go out, and a lot of those D-men really stepped up. Our goalies played great. I think just collectively we kind of rallied around it and said, hey, our one of our top players is going out there and showing that he truly cares for this team, and he doesn't want that to happen. And we played great for that time that he was out.
Noah Gregor from the Ottawa Senators joined us. You look at it now, it's been 3 consecutive seasons in the National Hockey League. Making the NHL is one thing, and it's obviously massively difficult. And staying in a league is a challenge for lots of players as well. How does your off season, if anything, alter and change now than maybe 3 years ago?
Well, I think kind of getting a little older. I mean, I don't consider myself old yet, but kind of 19, 20, 21, you're still trying to put on size. You're still trying to really add strength to your body and to your game. That is still going on. I'm still trying to get stronger, but I'm not really trying to get any bigger than I am right now. I don't really need to be walking around at 210 or something like that. That's just not what I need in my game. But it's still, on the ice is kind of where things have changed a little bit for me, working with a few different people in the summer and trying to really, add a new element to my game and see if that helps.
I do want to talk about that, how even the best, you're in the NHL, then you're among the best players in the world, and how the best players in the world, how the game has evolved and changed into small, minute improvements that can really make a big difference for players. And even later, like we say later, like Zach Hyman for Edmonton, for instance, you look at where his career is, and then what he's done in the last 3 seasons, and people are like, oh, well, once you're a finished product at 25, and I think that's becoming less and less true all the time in the NHL, and I think a lot of it's just due to the innovations and the changes in how players train in the off season. So we'll come back. We'll talk about that next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hey, Elks fans!
Jackpot! Touchdown!
Get on the Elks party bus for every home game at On the Rocks for only $35.
Included is a game ticket, round-trip transportation, and a prepaid Coors Light.
Reserve your spot now at ontherocks.com.
And OTR is your go-to for every Euro Cup game.
With $5.25 Heineken.
Their first major trophy.
It's the ultimate football experience.
Canadian or European.
Only at On the Rocks.
Jasper Ave in 118th.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Now, all sizes of premium roast coffee at McDonald's have a new low price starting at $1 plus tax for a small. It's great if you love great tasting coffee. $1 small premium roast coffee every single day. Must be McCafe. Plus tax at participating restaurants in Canada. Excludes delivery.
Why tee off at the Ranch Golf and Country Club?
A fun, unique layout offering premier conditions. The ranch has been ranked as one of the top public courses in Canada.
Unmatched value. Score Golf Magazine rated the ranch as the best value in Edmonton.
The service, from tournaments to special events to the pro shop. Superior service that makes every visit exceptional.
The Ranch Golf and Country Club, a laid-back environment where anyone can enjoy an amazing day on the fairways. For details, visit theranchgolf.com.
If you've ever restored a classic car or seen one, you smile because you know what it took to get that beauty looking pristine. The same is true for men who restore their hair. Nothing but smiles for miles. Patients from all over Canada travel to see me, Dr. Vance Elliott, to have their hair loss treated and remedied. I've been helping people for 28 years. My practice is outfitted with the most innovative and latest hair transplant techniques and technology. And I do it myself. Contact us at drvanceelliott.com.
Employee pricing is on now at Chevrolet. Right now, get up to $10,500 off select Silverado 1500 High Country Crew Cab models. With an available 6.2-liter V8 engine and standard Chevrolet safety assist, including forward collision alert, getting out of the city and having a nice, quiet day on the beach is easier than ever this season. So relaxing. Ask your Chevrolet advisor for details.
I took a pill in Ibiza.
Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You can always get involved, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our E-Well inbox. A member of the Ottawa Senators, Noah Gregor, joins us in studio for Who Is It Wednesday. And, you talked about Joe Thornton. You and Ferraro were young guys. And you hung out at his house quite a bit. Like he was an older guy because his wife would go back, I think, to Switzerland for a month with the kids. And so then all of a sudden he'd be like, hey, why don't you guys? So like Joe Thornton, was it weird? Or you're like, Joe Thornton just inviting us over all the time just to hang out. And like this guy's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, 1,500 point guy. Like, was it like, how fun was it? But was it also a little bit awestruck for you at times?
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't know if I was starstruck at that point. I think I'd already played with him for a little bit, and I got a little lucky being that I was really close with Ferraro, and Jumbo were really close. Somehow, a 20-year-old and a 4-year-old were best friends on the team. But yeah, no, it was great that he invited us over to the house a couple times, and we were able to spend some time with him. And again, just goes to show you how great of a teammate that Jumbo is.
What's the biggest thing you learned from him?
I mean, his work ethic, and then just having fun at the rink. There's no one that has more fun playing hockey than Jumbo, and that's that, along with the way he approaches the game and how much he cares and works at his craft, is two things that I really take away from him.
Also, your time in San Jose was when Erik Karlsson had his Norris Trophy winning season, and a player who had dealt with obviously some serious injuries. As a pretty good skater yourself, what impressed you most when you saw him up close for a season?
A lot. I mean, I think how effortless the game comes to him, or looks like it comes to him, at least.
Okay.
He makes a lot of plays that, a lot of other players don't see, or, just really can't make. He's a special player, and, it was awesome to see him have that 100-point season. It felt like every single night he was scoring, or he's getting an assist, or he's making an incredible, breakout play. So it was awesome to see him do that in kind of a season where we didn't do a lot else in that season. Obviously, we were losing a lot, so it was cool to kind of have that, and we could at least try and rally around that and getting Erik his 100 points.
And then you go to Toronto, and you're playing with the guy who scores 69 goals in Austin Matthews. And so, when you play against players, obviously you understand how good they are, but when you see someone on a daily basis, you probably have a different appreciation. What was about Matthews shooting that kind of caught your eye? And did you ever talk to him about shooting?
Yeah, well, at first it's just his release is crazy. It's the best release in the league. The way he can change the angle and get it off quick and accurate. He kind of has it all when it comes to shooting. He releases it really well, and then he can pick his spots. There's not too many guys that there's not anyone I've seen score as much as him in practice, let alone in games. He's scoring all the time. He's ripping it all the time. So it's pretty fun to watch him in practice, along with a lot of other guys that were in Toronto. It's pretty cool to just go and watch those guys in practice.
So when you see a guy like that, who you say he's ripping it all the time, do you say, well, maybe I should start ripping it all the time? Like, is that something where I was like, he uses every shot as an opportunity to make sure he's maintaining his velocity and accuracy?
Yeah. I mean, he's looking to score every single shot he takes. He's not looking to really, I don't want to say place a shot, but he's not trying to float one in there. He's not trying to go, he's never going POP. He's trying to score as much as he can. And I think that's something you got to look at is, this guy is scoring for a reason. He does it in practice every single day.
What's POP?
Pass off pad.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, shoot the pad. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys call it pass off pad? All right. Okay.
Yeah, he's not doing that too often.
No, you never saw that. So now, it is a funny, because Paul Coffey, when I interviewed Paul Coffey when he got hired in Edmonton, he talked about how he wanted, I don't care if you're Evan Bouchard or you're Vincent Desharnais, I want you to make plays. And, most guys in the NHL were the best players on their teams for the most part growing up at some point, and are highly offensive players. And I get that not everybody's going to score 69 goals in the NHL, but is there something you take away from saying, you know what, maybe I need to have more of a shooting to score mentality all the time, and, wherever it is, and not that, because I think confidence is such a big part of why the best players, like, obviously they're very skilled, but they believe they're great, right? Yeah. How much of that does that factor? Because you've played with some guys who are going to be surefire Hall of Famers. Obviously, they're a great talent, but how much of their mindset do you think made them great?
I think a lot of it. I think a great example of that this year was playing with Willie Nylander. I don't think there's a more confident guy in the entire NHL. There's plays he makes where, it doesn't work out, but there's not a chance he's going out the next shift and not trying it again.
Okay.
Right. He's doing the same things that he knows that he can make. And a lot of the time he does make them just because of his talent level. But I think, his confidence with the puck and his ability to make plays are pretty special to watch. And I think that is a lot of the best players, is they have so much confidence in their ability, and it's because they work at it all the time. And that's why they're able to stay consistent with it.
Finding your way in the National Hockey League, have you learned, like, how much of the mental part, because you'd been a scorer your whole career at every level, right? Then you get to the NHL, now you're not scoring, right? I think last year you won 20 games without a goal. How like, that's something you've never experienced as a player before. How much have you had to work on the mental side of the game to say, I am good? Like, I know that might sound like an odd question, but did you find that's something that maybe you've had to adjust to that you never had to before?
Oh, for sure. Being a scorer in junior and even in the American League, and then coming up to the National Hockey League, it's hard to score goals in the NHL. It's really hard. And I've gone on a few stretches of scoreless, 20 games without scoring a goal or even getting a point. And I know I'm probably not ever going to be a guy that's getting 60, 50 points a year, but you still want to be contributing in some way. And you can definitely get down on yourself, and you just can't let that, affect the rest of your game. I think that's something I'm learning now going into my 6th year pro. I think that, it doesn't matter how much you're producing as long as you're helping the team as much as you can in other ways. And, I think there's guys that have made great careers off just being a consistent player. And then obviously at some point you're going to have to produce. But I think just having that mentality that, I'm a good player, whether I'm scoring or if I'm not scoring.
So you go to Ottawa, Travis Green. You had a conversation. Well, I've assumed you had a conversation, but how does a conversation go when you have a new coach like that? Well, once you sign, did he call you right away? How does that go?
Yeah, fairly quick. I think the next day or so, I got a call from Travis, and had a fairly decently long talk with him, and just kind of wanted to get my mindset going into the season. Kind of wanted to learn more about my game, and I kind of picked his brain on a few things, and I'm excited to get going with them.
Do you ask a coach, hey, or do you say this is what I'd like to play? How do those conversations happen?
I think they do for sure. I won't dive into what I was talking about with Travis, but players, I think have that ability to say, hey, I believe I can do this, and if I work hard and so forth, that I can be in that position. And I think a good coach will say, hey, yeah, if you earn it, I'll present you with that opportunity.
Now it sounds like you were telling me off air that Ottawa, you guys are the whole team. The Brady Tkachuk has reached out. Your team's going in early, kind of similar to Edmonton last year. And I know that Oilers fans that didn't work out. They started 2-9-1. Now, obviously, there's some different circumstances and things like that. But you're going to an organization that's got a lot of good young players, right? Similar age as you, maybe a year or two younger, year or two older. Stützle and Tkachuk and Norris, and and then you got a veteran like Claude Giroux, Sanderson and Shabbat. They just got Linus Allmark. There's definitely more room. You looked at, they moved out all their penalty killers. They brought in you, so there seems like there's an obvious spot there on the penalty kill. How is your mindset different going in? Because you've got a contract now that it's like, okay, business starts September 2nd, or what's the approach in those early captain skates? I guess technically 2.5 weeks before training camp.
Yeah, no, my approach is still going to be the same. I've had to earn a lineup spot or a roster spot every year I've been in the NHL, and I don't think that really changes this year. There's a lot of great players on every NHL team. Doesn't really matter where you're going. If you don't perform, you're not gonna be in the lineup. So I want to go and make a great first impression and then go from there.
Now, we talked about this in the last segment about how the game has evolved, and it's the summer's training for NHL players is vastly different, even than 5-6 years ago. Now, way more players are on the ice earlier. They're on the ice longer. And when we say on the ice, it doesn't mean you're skating laps and bag skating and getting in great shape, but you're working on fundamentals and specific things. Like, I know I've talked to a few players that they're learning eagle turns that they didn't learn, because nowadays 10-year-olds learn eagle turns. But you've got some guys who didn't learn that at 10, and now they're trying to incorporate that, into their game. Zach Hyman, I talked to him about it last year. He'd never really used that play before, and he feels that it creates more space in an easier period of time, right? Where you can suddenly, if I do the eagle turn coming out of the corner, now suddenly I'm away from the defender by 6 or 8 more inches, and that can be the difference in making a play or not making a play. How has that changed for you in the last few years? And does each guy, you get your own skills coach and you just work on new elements of your game? I don't know if you want to go into exactly what details you are, but is it like, okay, 2 summers ago, I had these 3 things. Now this summer I have 4 or 5 and et cetera, et cetera. How do you build on that each summer?
Yeah. I think the last summer and this summer is kind of, I changed things up a little bit in my summer training and, specifically on the ice. I've been working with a guy in Edmonton that's been helping me out a lot. I think he's watching my games and breaking down some of my video, and then we can go into the skates in the summer and really work on things that we believe are going to help me become a better player. Whether that's holding on to pucks a little longer, protecting the puck is one thing that I want to become better at. And
so what do you do to work on being better protecting the puck?
I think, using your edges to create more space for yourself. Kind of, it's difficult to kind of explain without showing, but I think you can take a lot of what other players do and how they use their backside to protect the puck and use their edges in certain ways to keep the puck in a certain area where the defender can't get it, and that's something that I really want to improve on.
Everybody's seen your straightaway speed. They're elite skaters. So do you feel you want it to get better laterally, or more like stops and starts?
I think for me, it's using my speed in different ways than just straightaway. I think the straightaway speed for me has come, kind of naturally, but yeah, laterally and certain edge work is not my strong suit, and that's actually something I was struggling with today on the ice was doing. I don't even know how to explain it, but certain turns that I'm not used to that I think can make a half a second separation from you and the defender, and then if I can use that into my crossovers, which I'm already strong at, that can be a difference from the puck getting poked away or getting through.
So it's fascinating to hear that. So here's a guy who's in the NHL, who's considered a really good skater, yet there's certain elements that you've never worked on, and now you incorporate it. And how humbling is it to do that when you're like, God, this is something that I'm not great at? Or is it exciting to think once I master this should make me even better?
It's definitely humbling. No, I think there's certain things that I'm never going to be able to do. That's just not my game, and that's not what I really need to be focusing on. But there are a few things that we're working on that I think that I know I can do, and they should help me in the game.
What's something you don't think you can do?
I mean, I'm never going to be walking across 10 and 2 like Skinner say. He's really good at that open hip eagle turn coming down the wing.
Oh, Jeff Skinner.
Yes.
Okay.
Like he's one of the best at it, and I just don't think that's in my cards for me.
Okay, so and that's fair. No, it's a simple thing, but I think anybody who's watched Jeff Skinner, if they haven't to watch him this year, he comes in, and for people who don't know the eagle turn, it's where almost like your heels are pointed towards each other and your toes are on the direction, and you just kind of slide around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of players do it, but Jeff Skinner, I think, was one of the first to Crosby as well. But, Skinner does it a ton where he's entering the zone and going wide, where most players, you're protecting the puck, just skating forwards, but he'll open his hips and do it that way. And that worked really well for him, but I don't know if that's for me.
Have you tried it?
I've tried it. My hips don't open like that.
So there is some genetic situations where it's like, you know what? I guess someone would say, well, go to yoga. Well, there's only so much that you can do. You got to go with what physically works for you.
Yeah. And what feels comfortable as well. You don't want to do something where, you're trying and trying and trying. It just doesn't really feel comfortable for you. You're not going to implement it into a game. So, there's certain things that I think each player kind of knows what they're good at, and other things maybe stay away.
No. Is there anything else like what you talked about Matthews' release, and you've got a pretty good shot. Obviously, Matthews is elite of elite, but how do you, at your level, how do you feel you can improve your release?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think shooting wise, is a lot of it is repetition. I think watching players can certainly be something you could use, but I think just repetition and I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe I should look into that more.
Yeah, no, I'd be kind of curious just to, I get that some of it's natural for guys, but there's a technical factor in it. And I know there's lots of skating coaches out there and work on edges and everything, but do you find is there a lot of like real high-end shooting technicians that you know about? Like guys who really focus on the shooting aspect?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know there's Tim Turk has come around a few times in Edmonton. I don't know if you know the name.
Yeah, I've heard his name. But
he's the only one I can think of. Yeah, I don't know if there's other guys in other areas that specifically do that. So it'd be something to look into.
And we have a few people wondering what number are you going to wear because you can't wear 18 with Stützle in Ottawa.
I'll be 73 when I wear in San Jose.
73. Better. It's higher number. It's a better number.
You don't like it?
No, I said it's a better number. I like 73. Yeah, no, it's a better. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know why I don't like 18. Well, so actually, it's okay. I play with 18, but if I had to pick, I think I would take 73.
Yeah, no, I like it. So,
do you have Ottawa Senators gear that you practice in now?
Yes, yeah. The training staff there shipped it out right away. I was surprised they got it to me in like 2 days.
So, what color is it?
This is all black.
Oh, the black one.
Black pants, helmet, black and red gloves. So,
and lastly, is it simply because your ability to score in Edmonton? It's obviously the arena you've scored the most goals in on the road of any team by far. Is it just because it's close to the hometown? Was it about playing in Edmonton that allows you to score so much?
I have no idea. I think a little bit of luck, maybe. I don't know. It's weird how the game works sometimes. Hopefully it continues. I like scoring in front of my family and friends. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
How's your golf game?
It's okay right now. It's not bad.
So what's not bad mean? What are you shooting?
Not bad. I'm a 10 handicap, so I'm usually in the 80s.
What's your best round ever?
80. Can't dip into the 70s.
So you never hit a 79 yet?
Can't do it. I've got 80 a few times this summer, and it's starting to rattle me. I can't get it any lower.
Where did you have a chance for 79, like on the last hole, and you missed the putt?
No. I think it was probably the opposite. I made a putt for an 80.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, still 80. I've never shot 80. So.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, no, it's always good to see you, man. And obviously I'll talk to you before you leave, but best of luck. Enjoy it. You're at the age of summer of weddings and stags. So enjoy that time in your life, 25 to 27. It's pretty much an every second weekend thing for you for the next few years.
Yeah. It's starting to come here. So
awesome. Noah Gregor from the Ottawa Senators on Who Is It Wednesday. We get to Declan Kruger and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Albatross Roofing. They are hiring and they are looking for experienced flat roofers or sheet metal fabricators. And you need to have experience in SBS modified bitumen roofing systems. They have steady ongoing work and industry leading wages and benefits. Go to albatrossroofing.ca.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, we start in the NHL with the Edmonton Oilers, as the Oilers have hired Stan Bowman as general manager and executive VP of hockey operations, making him the first former Blackhawk executive rehired by a team since the team's 2010 scandal. The league reinstated Bowman earlier this month, and Bowman, age 51, had 3 cups, 10, 13, and 15 with the Blackhawks. The Buffalo Sabres have agreed to a deal 5 years worth $4.75 million with goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to keep him with the club through the 2030 season. Of course, in the MLB right now, one game in action. It's the Angels up 2-1 on the Mariners in the middle of the 8th. Some finals from earlier today saw the Reds over the Braves 9-4 in game 1 of their doubleheader. The Pirates blanking the Cardinals 5-0. Twins over the Phillies 5-4. Brewers 3-2 over the Cubs. The Rockies hanging 20 runs on 21 hits on the Boston Red Sox. That final was 20-7. And the Astros over the Athletics 8-1. Toronto Blue Jays in action in about an hour's time here. It will be Rodriguez on the mound as they take on the Tampa Bay Rays. 5:07 first pitch for that one. The Montreal Alouettes have moved Cody Fajardo to the 6-game injured list in CFL news, and AJ Ouellette out for tomorrow's game as well as Week 8 in the CFL kicks off. And some news out of the Canadian Olympic world is the FIFA Disciplinary Committee has opened proceedings against Canada Soccer in the wake of an ongoing drone scandal involving the women's Olympic team. Head coach Bev Priestman has stepped away from the team, while Joseph Lombardi and Jasmine Mander could all face discipline due to the potential breach of Article 13 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code. The Disciplinary Committee said the matter will be submitted for the consideration of the committee in the next few days. In hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Ben Pope of the Chicago Sun-Times and ask 5 questions. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray Radio Station. CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray Music app and listen wherever you go.
The cheesy burger pizza is back at Papa John's. See what happens when you ask for it? Boom! Finally, it's on the menu again for a limited time. Get all the items in the cheesy burger trio or choose between the large cheesy burger pizza for $18.99, cheesy burger papadilla for $9.99, and bacon cheesy burger papa bites for $8.99. All made with sizzling beef, dilly pickles, ooey gooey cheese, and burger sauce. That's right, burger sauce. Get it before it's gone. Better ingredients, better pizza. Better get you some cheesy burger pizza at Papa John's.
You adore your Audi, value your Volkswagen, baby your Beamer. But some of that love fades when repairs take several days and tons of cash for the dealership to do their
Let's get to the
Let Cochran's Automotive rekindle the flame. For your import, usually in one day. Audi, BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Honda, and Toyota. Cochran's Automotive will return her to
Just after
open at 7 a.m. Let Cochran's Automotive repair your automotive air conditioning before things heat up. Cochran's Automotive, 780-452-5001.
We've finished construction of our Gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase style, regular season gameplay, and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2011 and 2016. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
What a season, what a ride. Congratulations on an incredible season from GS Construction. Whether you're a laborer, pipe layer, or pipe layer's helper, lead hand, operator, top man or woman, or water and sewer foreman, GS Construction has room for you on their team. GS Construction, celebrating 50 years of laying the groundwork of Edmonton and communities throughout Alberta. Let's get to work. Get started today at gsconstruction.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is still the #1 company for families who don't want to see dad in his underwear. Come on, we warned you about a heat wave a while ago, and lo and behold, here we are. So call Legacy now before the heat wave convinces dad to cool down in a kiddie pool in your front yard. Yeah, we've still got air conditioners in stock, and yes, you won't have payments or interest for 1 year. Keeping dad from bathing in public during a heat wave. That's how you save your legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Now, all sizes of premium roast coffee at McDonald's have a new low price starting at $1 plus tax for a small. It's great if you love great tasting coffee. $1 small premium roast coffee every single day. Must be McCafe. Plus tax at participating restaurants in Canada. Excludes delivery.
Employee pricing is on now at Chevrolet. Right now, get up to $10,500 off select Silverado 1500 High Country Crew Cab models. With an available 6.2-liter V8 engine and standard Chevrolet safety assist, including forward collision alert, getting out of the city and having a nice, quiet day on the beach is easier than ever this season. So relaxing. Ask your Chevrolet advisor for details.
If I could write you a song to make you
Nice. You know what? That's classic. Jeez, almost a year. Embarrassing. Hey, some habits are hard to break. Luckily, that's not a terrible habit. There's much worse ones, but that one's annoying. That's just a $20 habit. God, I thought I was out of that. Brutal. How are you? Hopefully, you're doing better than me. You know what station you're on? It's Sports 1440. Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. Good news is I caught it right away, but still brutal. We got loads and loads of text to get to 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. We got lots of questions, of course, about Stan Bowman. We'll get to more of that. I do want to read. Well, there's quite a few of them, so I've been trying to save some of them that really stand out. Hey guys, Bowman seems to have shown remorse and contrition. What more should we be asked to do before he's given a second chance? Are second chances not in the cards? Only outrage from Dan? No, I think I'm not going to sit here and because you don't know where someone's coming if they're really upset about it. The great part about our text line is everybody has their number. They have their name on it. It's perfect. And what I like is someone's critiquing him, they're going to put their name on. It's great. And to me, like I said, and I'll stick with it, I'm not going to backtrack. I said it last few weeks. I wouldn't have done it because I thought the reaction would be what it is. Today, the reaction was more about sexual abuse in hockey. And then there's the other side of me that's like, well, maybe that's the one positive that comes from this hiring. And that's where I will be monitoring and watching. And I don't expect like every press conference. It's not what it's about. But are the actions going to match the words from Bowman and the organization? And we won't know that until it's not going to happen right away, right? The guys aren't around. There's not much going on in the month of August other than, I guess, Stan Bowman's, his first big thing will likely be engaging in the part of the conversations with Leon Draisaitl's agent. Right, that's going to be priority number one. Now, I shouldn't say that because there's Holloway and Broberg, but those are much easier contracts. Let's be honest. Neither one has arbitration rights. They don't have a lot of negotiating power. I think those are pretty cut and dry on what they're going to be. Edmonton would probably like to squeeze out a second year from each player. Each player might not want to. If you do get a second year, you got to get a higher AAV. So we'll see if it happens. But obviously, it's going to be the Draisaitl one. That'll be the big one. Now, when the team comes and they're around every day, and how and in what fashion are we going to see Bowman walk the walk to match the talk that they had today as an organization from Bowman, from Jackson, in all the things Stan Bowman, he said the right things today. You know what? He admitted his mistake. Talked about how he reached out to Kyle Beach. Kyle Beach didn't respond the first time. And then Sheldon Kennedy, after speaking with him, mentioned, hey, have you ever talked to Beach? Well, I did once. He didn't reach back. Said, well, you know what? Give it some time. I think you should reach out again. And then they did. And then they met in person. And they ended up actually working together because Kyle Beach is an assistant coach for Trinity Western in U Sports. And Bowman, of course, at that time now was working with Sheldon Kennedy and understanding the charter, which really focuses on to try to educate people after he got educated himself on reducing bullying, harassment, sexual abuse overall. And that's what he's done for the last 2.5 years. So he at least showed that he was willing to do it. Now, if that stops the minute he has an NHL job, then all the words are hollow and mean absolutely nothing. And I would tell you, I would find that more disappointing than actually hiring him if that happens. Now, he said it wouldn't, so I got to believe him. But it'll be something to watch for, no question. Because that is the one way that this hiring can become a big positive for the organization, is that Bowman uses his platform and his position to further enhance the cause. Because this is something when you come to bullying and harassment, and obviously the bigger one, sexual abuse, is rampant in our society. The numbers are grotesque. 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 6 boys. It's awful. And so it is something that you want to ensure gets discussed. And we had Sheldon Kennedy on in the first hour of the show. And he talked about how it is an uncomfortable conversation. And sometimes a lot of us don't even know how to start the conversation. And that's true, because you think there's got to be like, well, I got to have the right way to engage it. Not really. Just try to start the conversation. Yeah, it might be uncomfortable. That's okay. The more we can be comfortable being uncomfortable, the more we're going to grow and learn as individuals and as society. And we need that. And, I hear a lot about hockey culture. And I know that's a nice thing to say, oh, like hockey culture is the only place this exists. Like, grab a clue. Okay, I'm sorry it doesn't. It's easy for people who aren't in hockey to say, oh, yeah, it's a hockey culture. I'm like, really? Anybody knows, sadly, that the vast majority of sexual abuse comes from close family friend, caregiver, relative. So do you think it's only hockey playing relatives that do that? No, it's not the case. This is a big issue in society. And for me, I want to see how Bowman reacts. Hey, Gregor, I appreciate what you're doing and asking what I thought were fair and difficult questions. I'm a huge Oilers fan. My first reaction when I heard, I was shocked, annoyed, angry at the organization. If Sheldon is willing to let Bowman walk the walk, he took a big step in reaching out to Sheldon's organization, helping him in a different way. Bowman did the work, just like some victims do. Unfortunately, not all seek help. I did, and I've been dealing with the event for more than 57 years. The tools provided to me by my psychologist helped me work through the ordeal. I'm not going to jump to conclusions without seeing how things move forward. From Mike. Well, Mike, first of all, congratulations to you to take a tough, difficult step to want to try and work through that. I know how hard it can be for people because you kind of got to relive it before you can move past it. And I couldn't imagine how hard that would be. I can't. I can't for a second try to put myself in that position. I can have empathy for people, but I can't have a complete understanding of just probably how hard that would be. Tears, anger, vomiting, shaking, whatever, to get through it in some cases. Obviously, depending on who did it, when it happened, and it's hard. So kudos to you, Mike, for telling yourself that you are worthy of healing. And I think that's what a lot of people have to remind themselves, especially when you're a victim and survivor of sexual abuse. You never did anything wrong, and you're worth healing. Once you believe that, you'll have a good chance. Hey, guys, Bowman was 37 when he did what he did. That's old enough to know right from wrong. Sure, he's trying to make it up, but in my opinion, he has no place in hockey. That one comes from Martin. Well, I think the thing, Martin, in life, and that's fair to have a viewpoint like that. I think the thing in life is we're never too old to learn and grow. You could talk to anybody in life. There's people. It's not like you reach some magical number and age and be like, oh, I know how to react to everything properly. Right? If you read the report from Boone that, you know what, they tell McDonough and the owners who are above him in the pecking order. And as Bowman said, the biggest mistake he made was never followed up on it. He assumed that others were doing stuff and he didn't, and never spoke out. And he's got to wear that. Right? The time will never fully heal it. I'm sure the fact that, Kyle Beach and him can have open conversations about it probably reduces some of the shame and guilt a little bit. But it's something that, you hope you just learn from and move on and say, hey, you're going to make a mistake. But we all wish we would react the best in that situation. But the truth is, when you consider how many people are still getting sexually abused, there's a reason why. Because there's a lot of people who don't know how to start the conversation, who don't know what to do. once the situation presents himself. And that's just the truth. Otherwise, we would see a reduction in our society. But it's not. Right? It's not happening. So we need to have more education. And who knows? Maybe the fact that Bowman is in a position of notoriety now, it can benefit it in some way. I need to see it to believe it. But how I'm wired is I will try to look for what could potentially be a positive. I'll tell you, there's obviously like the worst potential negative is that now he gets a job and all of a sudden it's like hockey, GM, and that's all I can focus on. And that is a cop-out. And it would be something that I'll be very much monitoring to see if the actions of him and the organization match what was said today. And if you missed that, we'll play some of those comments later. We'll go to Chicago next. We've talked about Bowman. We hear the Blackhawks, they reached the, they have a non-disclosure agreement with John Doe number 2, the victim of Brad Aldrich. Is that enough? What's that organization doing? Where are we at in this? There was a second Blackhawks player that filed a lawsuit last season. So it still feels like there's a few skeletons still emerging. We'll discuss it next on The Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Rule number 37. Elk Island mosquitoes don't believe in personal space. Keep bug spray ready at all times. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instance, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days. Because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
The summer road lays ahead. Your potential destinations are endless. Volvo Cars Edmonton gives you choice to match. Right now, lease a 2024 Volvo XC90 from 0% for qualifying loyal customers. Or save $7,000 on all new 2024 XC60 recharge plug-in hybrid models. All demo vehicles come with a free 10-year, 1 million kilometer warranty. No matter what you decide this summer will become, your first choice is Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
The Brick is serving up incredible deals on items in every department. Find up to 25% off dining and bedroom packages, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $840 off sectionals and sofas. Also, from Thursday to Monday, shop our fantastic specialty 5-day deals and find everything you need to outfit your home this summer. Plus, on Saturday, July 20th, enjoy free pop and all-beef hot dogs, specialty sales, and fun family activities. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Some people see their RV as a way to travel the countryside and explore the great outdoors. For others, it's more like a summer cottage. Sure, it's got wheels, but that doesn't mean that you have to roll it around all the time. And I know someone who uses his RV exactly like this. It's Rick Showers from No Bull RV. Hey, Rick, when was the last time you hooked up your trailer and took it somewhere?
Been years, Bob.
You just leave it in one place?
Well, you have to see our campsite. It's near Seba Beach. There's lots of privacy. It's a heavily wooded area, but very close to the lake, with full water and electrical hookup. So my wife, Deanna, and I enjoy cottage life with all its beauty and all the comforts of home.
And the RV you use as a cottage, did you buy it new?
Bob, what are you, nuts? I can happily find you an RV as nice as mine. Got dozens of them on the lot right now. And Deanna and I are living proof that you don't have to pay new RV prices to live the dream.
And that's No Bull.
NoBullRV.ca.
Wednesday afternoon. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube and Facebook. By the way, the Olympics officially kicked off. We haven't even talked about the fact that Canada's women's head coach removed herself from the team from this drone scandal. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, 2 support staff members and her are now, gone from the tournament. So is it almost like it's like, yeah, I knew what was going on, so I'm removing myself from it? Or is she saying, well, I should have known what was going on? Like, here's my question. How does, now, could you pack a drone? I guess you can pack a drone in your carry-on, and they're not gonna look at it. But like, who thought that was a good idea? It's not like it's invisible. Like, honestly, that might be one of the dumbest things. I don't care if the support staff person thought it up on their own. Because here's the thing. Once the drone goes up there and it comes down, like, I'd be stunned if the coach is like, what? Where'd we get this information from? Whoa, we just had a magical drone come in. Like, yeah, not a good look on Priestman. And you're the defending champs, for God's sakes. What are you doing? What do you think, you're the Patriots? Brutal. Anyway, let's continue our off-season report. We go to Chicago, brought to you by Action Electrical, and man, they are always evolving, growing, and changing. They got the most diversified electrical contractor in Alberta, 4 divisions in projects and service and TAG. Of course, energy with solar and EV. They've purchased Big Hill Electrical and continue to grow and expand. That's actionelectrical.net. Ben Hope from the Chicago Sun-Times joins us. And Ben, what's the reaction, if any, about Stan Bowman back in the NHL now with the Edmonton Oilers after leaving, quitting, pushed out of Chicago in October of 21?
Yeah, I think a lot of Blackhawks fans are either upset for the obvious reason about feeling that he didn't deserve to be back in the league after his handling of the sexual assault scandal. And then other fans are kind of almost laughing at the Oilers from the standpoint of that he really did such a poor job in terms of managing the team, even aside from the off-ice issues the last few years. So I think it's kind of goes multiple ways, but I wouldn't say the reaction's been extremely positive no matter which direction you're looking at it.
Yeah, when you look at Bowman's tenure in Chicago, and he was there from 2001 until 21. So, they start out, that team was rebuilding. They made some really good picks in Keith and Seabrook and Boland and Bufflin. You go down the list, and then obviously the top guys in Taves and Kane, and then a really good trade in Patrick Sharp. And then, obviously they got Hossa later as a free agent signing. I think it was like a few weeks before. Now, Bowman probably had something to say in that. He wasn't the GM, but he was the assistant GM at that moment. What do you make of his tenure? Like, when people say, well, he wasn't good, I'm like, well, he was still involved in the organization. They won 3 cups in 6 years. Like, it can't be terrible. Can he?
Yeah. I mean, so for full disclosure, I wasn't covering the team at that time, but my understanding is that the first 5-6 years of his tenure, when they were winning those cups, he was making generally smart decisions to keep the window open and to provide some peripheral support for that core. But as you mentioned, and as many people have talked about today, he wasn't really the one who drafted or acquired any of that core. Even Hossa, the final piece to put them over the top was the final move by Dale Talon 2 weeks before Bowman took over. So it wasn't like he was doing a bad job the first 5 or 6 years, but it was more just kind of a monitoring the ship and making small tweaks to keep things running smoothly. And then later on, when the core players started getting older and the impacts of all the cap dumps they'd had to make started getting steeper, he wasn't really able to pivot and bring in more significant upgrades within the salary cap constraints to keep things going past 2015. I mean, that's still the last time they won a playoff series outside of the COVID bubble. So I think a lot of the criticism is really about the final 5 or 6 years of his tenure when things started getting really erratic, more than the first 5 or 6 years when he did do probably a pretty solid job.
Yeah, like there's very few GMs who, if you look at their whole tenure, it's near the top, right? It just like Doug Wilson had an unbelievable run in San Jose for a long time, and then he eventually, like, it's not sustainable long term. It's almost impossible, especially in the salary cap era. It doesn't happen. I'm trying to think of a team that just maintained it all the time. It's too difficult to do, and the reality is there's very few GMs who stay that long with any team. So you look at the Blackhawks now, and they said, hey, we're going scorched earth, and they traded away a lot. They got a lot of draft picks, and I think everything really started with Bedard. I know they had some decent picks before that, and Korchinski and such, and Nazir, but none of them are elite level guys yet. At least we don't think so. So they went out this year and they looked to really improve their team. You bring in Teuvo Teravainen, like they got some top 6 forwards on their team. Ben, have they tried to speed this up too much? Whereas they might not make the playoffs, but they might screw themselves out of a top 5 pick, which is probably what they still need.
Yeah, well, there's kind of two camps in terms of looking at that, and I've heard some passionate opinions from both sides. The team's opinion is that they have what they need in the prospect pipeline. And that, it is, in terms of quantity and depth, one of the best in the league. And even in terms of elite talent, still probably a top 10 prospect pool. And they feel like they're set up well, and they also don't want to, tank for so many consecutive years that the losing culture becomes impossible to overcome, like a Buffalo kind of situation, or that any of the existing players get fed up with being there. And also from just sort of a business standpoint, selling tickets, they don't want to have the fans endure too many consecutive horrible seasons. So kind of the idea is to start taking small steps forward this coming year. Obviously, no one expects them to be anywhere near playoff contention, but taking those small steps. And then there are other people who have the opinion that basically you just shared, that they feel like they need one more elite forward prospect to really have a kind of core you can build around. They're pretty set on defense. They have Korchinski. They have Alex Vlasic, who was tremendous as a rookie. And now they have Artem Levchinov, the number 2 overall pick, and they have a decent number of solid prospects beyond them. But forward, it's really just Bedard in terms of the elite top-tier world-class prospects. Nazar and Oliver Moore are probably their second and third best forwards, and those guys are probably more like second-line players than first-line players long-term in the NHL. So they don't really have a clear, like, long-term partner for Bedard, a Draisaitl to his McDavid, and that is the one risk they're taking with taking the step forward this year, that they won't probably get another top 5 pick in order to have a surefire chance at getting one of those. So that is really the biggest risk with this decision, and only time will tell whether their decision to kind of move forward now pays off.
I look at their team, and Taylor Hall, of course, didn't play very much for them last season. Skating. I know he was around the team late last year, so he comes back. It's almost like another addition in a sense, because he was there for such a little time. But who do you see, like, if you had to project for day one, who do you see Bedard playing with to start the season?
Well, I think probably the best 2 bets are the 2 free agent additions, Teuvo Teravainen, obviously coming back for his second time with Chicago, and then Tyler Bertuzzi. Both of them not only are, productive players with a lot of top 6 experience, but they also fit specific roles that the Hawks think will complement Bedard well. Teravainen obviously played many years with Aho in Carolina. He's comfortable in that kind of complementary playmaker role. His defensive ability is underrated, and that's an area where Bedard has struggled in his rookie year, so they think Teravainen will be able to help out in that way. And then Bertuzzi brings that scrappiness, who can get in and win puck battles, get to the net, maybe tap in some of those rebounds. So they feel like those 2 guys would complement him really well. And I think going into training camp, the most likely line that we see, the first day of camp or the first preseason game will probably be Teravainen and Bertuzzi on either side of Bedard. But Hall, as you mentioned, will be in that mix. It just kind of depends on how he looks coming off of ACL surgery. It's always, hard to know what guys are going to look like after that. And then Philip Kurashev will get a chance to re-earn that role as well. He kind of came out of the blue to be the most frequent line mate for Bedard this past year, and while they definitely had their defensive struggles, they were productive together, and they kind of think the game in the same way and have a similar hockey IQ and creativity out there. So those 4 guys will probably be the ones competing for those 2 spots next to him.
You mentioned their blue line. They've got some young defensemen in Vlasic who they're pretty high on for sure, and they've got kind of the new age defenseman, Ben, big, mobile. How would you view Kevin Korchinski last season for the Blackhawks in his first full year as a pro?
Well, it was definitely a trial by fire for Korchinski, and I think everyone knew going in that that's the way it was going to be. He obviously has that offensive upside, and he has tremendous skills moving the puck, but he didn't get a ton of opportunity to showcase that because he was stuck in the defensive zone so much. And he did learn. He improved. He got stronger in the defensive zone, but that's always going to be a bit more of a challenge for him, and it's an area where he has more improvement to do. So he also probably didn't have the help that ideally he would have had. They had Connor Murphy with him for the first half of the year, and that worked out well enough. But then when Murphy got injured, they had Jacob Megna straight off of waivers from Seattle playing with him, and that was obviously not the kind of qualified partner you would hope for your top rookie. So going into this year, he's probably the biggest area of intrigue in training camp, where he's now eligible for the AHL. He was not last year, and it would make sense if they decide that maybe he can start the year there, play a month or 2 in Rockford, build up some confidence, and then come in with more momentum mid-season than he ever managed to have last year in the NHL. But he also does have a more experience this year. You would assume he will be better. He'll be stronger. He'll be bigger after another summer of training. So he very much could earn his NHL spot back, and they're going to just want to do what's best for him long-term versus the kind of short-term outlook, because it's not like the team is trying to compete for the playoffs this year, and he's a huge part of their future. So it's going to be really interesting how things play out for him, particularly in the first few months of the year.
And going back to the Blackhawks situation, we had Rick Westhead on earlier, and I know that John Doe, the 16-year-old boy who was assaulted by Aldrich in 2013 when he was in high school, and Aldrich served 9 months in prison. What a joke! But anyway, they reached a settlement, and he signed an NDA. What do you make of that decision, in the sense that, why are you signing that to say, oh, hey, we'll pay you money, but you can never talk that we admit to our mistake? Like that's if you claim you're an organization that wants to make changes, then why are you buying silence?
That's a tough question to answer.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of legal implications and lawyers involved in this. I can't imagine that's just solely coming out of the current leadership's decision making, but it's certainly a valid point, and it's not like they're free from this. I think the stain continues to linger on the organization. We've seen multiple new lawsuits filed within the past few months. One from one of the witnesses in the original investigation, another former player, and then one from a former contractor in an unrelated situation more recently. And regardless of the validity of those lawsuits, they've certainly made themselves prone to having legal action filed against them because of the reputation and the fact that they did have to settle for such significant sums a few years ago. So it's a tricky situation for the team in all aspects, and it would be hard to say that they don't deserve it based on what happened back in 2010. Everything I hear now is that they are taking significant steps to improve, and their culture has gotten a lot better internally. And from my conversations with leadership, with Danny Wirtz in his year since becoming chairman, and Jamie Faulkner, who's the president of the team, I've only gotten a positive impression of how they've handled things. And we kind of saw that tested last year with the Corey Perry situation. And it certainly wasn't perfect, but I think they did go about it in a more responsible way, certainly than we saw in 2010 with Beach. So it does seem like things are, taking steps forward with the organization, but they also have a lot of work to do and a long way to go to fully kind of clean their reputation and prove that they definitely will handle every further incident responsibly. So it's hard to, give specific answers or definitive answers, but that's kind of the best way I can sum up the past and current state of things.
Ben, always good to catch up with you, man. Enjoy the off season. Do you expect any other significant moves, like any late free agent signings? The Blackhawks got some spots to fill, or are they pretty much status quo?
I don't really expect anything interesting until training camp. They've already made a bunch of moves, and I think it's going to be pretty quiet until then.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate your time.
Yep, thanks for having me.
There you go. That's Ben Pope joining us from Chicago. So got a lot of texts. Oh, great, guys. Chicago fans are laughing at us. Not good look. Well, like I said, you're going there's always a tough one in sports sometimes when people like when you look at certain penalties, you hate that penalty. Well, if your guy does it, well, no, then it's okay. Right. And that's it for on the ice. I can understand it. Off the ice for serious situations, I would hope that if you're a fan of Chicago, fan of any other team, not Edmonton, and you were hating this signing, then you would hate it if it was your team. Then that's fair. I respect it. I know there's some Oilers fans who disagree with it, and they're totally entitled to that. Stan Bowman said, he goes, I understand and I respect why they would think that way. And he says his goal is to win them over through his actions. So we'll see. We'll see if he, to me, from now on, we've always heard the statement, actions speak louder than words. Well, this will really put that to the test. And maybe this ends up being a positive. But I'll need to see it to believe it. I hope it does. I really do. Because there's so many people out there who could use just knowing that someone on a platform in the National Hockey League, a pretty large fan base, is speaking out on their behalf. It would be monumental and very powerful, and hopefully it happens. We'll come back. It's a Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca with 5 questions on the Wednesday edition. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook, and streaming at sports1440.ca.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is still the #1 company for families who don't want to see dad in his underwear. Come on, we warned you about a heat wave a while ago, and lo and behold, here we are. So call Legacy now before the heat wave convinces dad to cool down in a kiddie pool in your front yard. Yeah, we've still got air conditioners in stock, and yes, you won't have payments or interest for 1 year. Keeping dad from bathing in public during a heat wave. That's how you save your legacy. Legacy Heating and Cooling.
The Junior Prospects Hockey League is entering its 3rd season of gameplay. The JPHL now offers academic and athletic opportunities in the 14U, 15, 17, and 18U age divisions. All JPHL games are broadcast live on Silent Ice TV with a showcase-style game schedule and high level of travel and accommodations for its team, staff, and players. To learn more about why the JPHL is the fastest-growing elite hockey academy stream in Western Canada, visit juniorprospectshockeyleague.com.
CW Eves Troughing is busy. That's why they're looking for experienced troughers to run one of their trucks. To get paid top rates, contact CW Eves Troughing at 780-435-1492 or email info@cweves.com.
Now, all sizes of premium roast coffee at McDonald's have a new low price starting at $1 plus tax for a small. It's great if you love great tasting coffee. $1 small premium roast coffee every single day. Must be McCafe. Plus tax at participating restaurants in Canada. Excludes delivery.
Johnson, whoa. Hi, Dennis from Weiss Johnson. Everyone loves summer, but it's hard to enjoy fun in the sun when you're exhausted. Tossing and turning all night long, one can't sleep when you overheat. So cool things down with the new Goodman air conditioner, installed by the pros from Weiss Johnson. Your family will enjoy comfortable slumbers for years to come with a Goodman air conditioner in your home. Weiss Johnson, serving Edmonton and area since 1977. Visit wjcools.com today.
For over 65 years, Denham Ford has delivered the customer service and value that keeps Albertans moving. And nothing moves Albertans better than Canada's best-selling truck, the Ford F-150. Here now with rates as low as 0% or savings up to $17,000. That's the value you've come to expect from where cars always cost less. 0% or $17,000 off F-150s. Only at Denham Ford in Wetaskiwin or at denhamford.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. The cheesy burger pizza is back. Beef, slicey dicey tomatoes, dilly pickles, gooey gooey cheese, and burger sauce. Grab it while it's here for the summer for $18.99 only at papajohns.ca.
A decent amount of precipitation tomorrow. You know what? I hope it just pours in Jasper. Like, just pours. Please. Would be nice. I saw the latest update as the fires are, within 5 kilometers. Man, I hope they can stop that for all involved. That is a very, very nerve-wracking, terrible, scary situation, to say the least. Let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. Hey, you can watch the Olympics in style this summer and save up to $850 on sofas and sectionals right now at The Brick, where you can also get 40% off mattresses. The Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, Jason, question number 1. We've obviously covered the Stan Bowman hiring in depth, but from a pure hockey perspective, is there another name you would have gone with?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think there was multiple other people that you would look and say, based on what they've done, like when you consider when Stan Bowman got hired for the GM job in Chicago, he had, started out in the organization, worked his way up. It's kind of similar to Keith Gretzky, is it not? So easily you could have put Keith Gretzky in that position. I wouldn't have looked at it, like he knows the organization, knows how everything run. I think he's a name that easily could have done it. I think Jeff Jackson, like he's new to the organization. I think he wanted to kind of bring in some of his guys. That's obvious. So I'll go with Keith Gretzky as a name.
Question number 2. How do you grade Stan Bowman's time as a GM in Chicago as a whole, given that he was on the staff since 2001, assistant GM, but became GM in 2009 with a core group that had already been put together by Dale Talon?
Well, here's the thing. I think too often it's like, so he was the GM, yes, but does an assistant GM have no say? Like, I can't accurately ask that question because I look at the order situation and I know that when Ken Holland made moves, he collaborated with other guys. Still, someone has to make the final call at the end of the day. But it's not like Eric Tillman where you're making a trade in the middle of the night, so your assistant GM and other guys in the organization can't do anything, right? That's dysfunction. I don't think good organizations do it. So Dale Talon had a massive say, don't get me wrong. But did Dale Talon do the scouting? No, your amateur guys did. It's never just one guy. So I know the GM gets that, but even now, like if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, Jeff Jackson was here a year longer, but Ken Holland's fingerprints are still more on the team than anyone else, but he won't be there. It's just kind of how it goes in hockey circles sometimes. So when I look at Bowman's time from 2001, it obviously didn't end very well because but you're not going to maintain that. How could you? Taves got injured. Hossa retired. Seabrook, like you're not just going to go out and then say, hey, we're going to magically find another Duncan Keith Hall of Famer in the second round. We're going to magically find Brett Seabrook, 13. We're going to find this. Like, you can't do it. So I would give Bowman, like, you're there as part of the organization, won 3 cups in 6 years. I don't see how any chance you minimum even give him a B+. I don't see how you can't. Like, what's harder to do? Win the cup or be bad? Lots of teams are bad. Only one team wins a cup. So I'd still give him an A.
Question number 3. There has been an outpouring of Oilers fans who say they'll boycott the team due to the Stan Bowman hire. What percentage of them do you think will follow through and stay true to their word?
Did any of them put their name on it? Like their full name? Is this like bots on Twitter?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, there's some real people, I'll say. I'll give them that credit who did, but.
Well, good for them. I'll say this. Walk the walk, talk the talk. I'll be evaluating Stan Bowman on him talking. He did the talk today. Now let's see him follow through on it. That's always harder. So for those people who said they're going to boycott, I respect you if you do. Because then you are doing what we're going to hope Bowman does, and that's walking the walk.
Question number 4. Sprinter Andre DeGrasse and weightlifting champion Mose Sharon will be the flag bearers for Canada at the opening ceremonies for this year's Olympics. I asked a similar question last week, but who will have a performance for the Canadians this year that warrants them carrying the flag in the closing ceremonies?
Deck, you got an answer? Is there anybody you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really hitched onto the Summer McIntosh bandwagon right now. I think she's an incredible swimmer. I think she has a chance to really push Katie Ledecky in the 800-meter freestyle.
That'd be unreal.
Not sure she's going to do it because Katie is a different kind of level and a different kind of stature. But Summer McIntosh, incredible freestyler herself, world record holder in the 400 IM. She'll be my pick. But I will say this. I think if Canada medals in men's basketball, I could see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander doing it.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think you might have picked probably the best chance. Canada's got lots of swimmers, so I'll stay out of the pool though. But I'm gonna go with Cameron Rogers. She won at the she won gold at the, I think it was at the hammer throw at the World Championship. I just like the hammer throw. Right? I've never done it.
It's a cool one.
Like it's kind of unique. I know it looks simple to people, but man, there is so much torque and force and speed and everything in one compact move. So I'm going to go with Cameron Rogers. I think she'll be good, but I just want to add one thing. I don't want to be a fun sponge, but why do we have to have multiple flag bearers? Like, why can't we just pick one? It's 2024. Pick one. If it's a woman, great. If it's a man, great. I don't care. It's a flag bearer. Can we just have one? I really don't care who it is, but it's a little bothersome to me that it used to be like a big deal, but now it's multiple people. Like, I don't think we need that.
And finally, question number 5. It is the Mark Spector Golf Classic today. If you could pick 3 people in the world to golf with, what would your ideal foursome look like?
Do they have to be golfers? Or just people who can golf?
Can be buddies, can be golfers, can be celebrities, whatever you want.
Well, I like a good chirp. And so
Bob Probert's swinging by?
Well, rest in peace, Bobby. That'd be unbelievable to bring him back. But I would say Cam Russell, strictly for the line, does your coach know you're out here? Automatically, he's in my foursome now. I just would, I'd want him just for fun because I think that would be classic. I would take Ryan Reynolds. Seems like a funny dude. And I would, who else would I want to golf with? Oh, well, I would, I've always wanted to have a conversation with Kate Beckinsale. So I'll go with Kate. What about you?
Jimmy Butler, obviously.
Obviously.
I want Ryan Gosling.
Okay, yeah.
Cool guy. And I might take Eddie Hearn. It's either Eddie Hearn or David Beckham. One of those.
Man, I thought you were going to take a boxer for sure.
I almost took Errol Spence, but I don't think he'd be that fun to golf with.
Oh, he's too serious?
He's a little too serious. He has that intensity about him. And I think me and Jimmy and Ryan would be chopping it up and he wouldn't be having it. So maybe me and him can go to dinner or do something else, but he can't come golfing.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I wonder, like, guys who are super competitive, can they relax and let it go on the on the golf course, or are they snap shows? That's always the tough one. So yeah, there'd be a lot of good options for that. Lots of good options. So,
and I want Kate Beckinsdale there too, by the way.
Oh man, she's a long-time celebrity crush of mine. Yeah, just want, like I said, just have a conversation with her. Like I'm not gonna pretend I'm strutty and we're gonna have a moment after the golf course or anything ridiculous like that. Yeah, like it would just be fun. Why not? Force me to be on my game too. I'd be like, I better show up here. Try to break 90. Let's get to a quick break. When we come back, I had one guy who I know didn't break 90 today. We'll talk about that, but hopefully might have got 90K in fundraising. That would be nice. We will talk to Spec about the Bowman hiring, which was the talk of his tournament today. But of course, bigger things to raise money for Sports Central. There was a big dinner to go with Chris Knobloch, which I think was a lot of people interested right now as a guy who took your team in his rookie season. And my favorite stat of the day is that Chris Knobloch today is the 20th longest tenured head coach in the NHL. And he's only coached 63 regular season games. Sorry, 69 regular season games. Yowzers. Nice. Sports 1440 update brought to you by Albatross Roofing. Immediate job openings. For experienced flat roofers and sheet metal fabricators, you must have experience in torch-on roofing. If you don't know what it is, then you probably don't have the experience. But if you do, steady ongoing work and industry-leading wages. Apply at roofingalbatross with 2 S's.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, we start in the NHL with Edmonton Oilers news as the Edmonton Oilers have hired Stan Bowman as GM and Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations. He is the first former Chicago Blackhawks executive rehired by an NHL team since the team's 2010 scandal. The league reinstated Bowman earlier this month, and Bowman, age 51, ran the Blackhawks when they won the Stanley Cups in 2010, 13, and 15. Other NHL news as the Buffalo Sabres have agreed to terms with goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen on a 5-year contract with an AAV of $4.75 million. Scores around the MLB, 3 games in action right now. Orioles and Marlins tied 0-0 at the bottom of the second. Padres and Nationals, same score in the bottom of the first, and the Tigers lead the Guardians 1-0 in the bottom of the second. Some finals from earlier today was the Reds over the Braves 9-4, Pirates over the Cardinals 5-0, Twins over the Phillies 5-4, Brewers over the Cubs 3-2, the Colorado Rockies putting up 20 runs on 21 hits against the Boston Red Sox as they won that one 20-7, Astros over the Athletics 8-1, and Angels over the Mariners 2-1. The Toronto Blue Jays will be in action in about 4 minutes' time here as they play host to the Tampa Bay Rays. 5:07 official first pitch for that one, and it will be Rodriguez on the mound for the Jays. News out of the CFL as the Montreal Alouettes have moved Cody Fajardo to the 6-game injured list, and AJ Ouellette will be out for Thursday's Week 8 game between Saskatchewan and Montreal. NFL news is 49ers All-Pro Trent Williams is holding out of training camp over a deal, but the team expects to have that resolved by the end of the week per reports. And the FIFA Disciplinary Committee has opened proceedings against Canada Soccer in the wake of an ongoing drone scandal involving the women's Olympic team. Head coach Beverly Priestman has stepped away from the team, while Joseph Lombardi and Jasmine Mander could also face discipline due to the potential breach of Article 13 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code. And in Riverhawks news, a doubleheader tonight down at Remax Field as they take on Nanaimo. First game at 7:05 p.m. and then a second game at 9 p.m. as they make up for last night's canceled game. In hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet for the Spec Report. I'm Declan Kruger, and this has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Now, all sizes of premium roast coffee at McDonald's have a new low price starting at $1 plus tax for a small. It's great if you love great tasting coffee. $1 small premium roast coffee every single day. Must be McCafe. Plus tax at participating restaurants in Canada. Excludes delivery.
Are you an expert in flat roofing or sheet metal fabrication and installation? Albatross Roofing and Construction wants to hire you. Candidates must have SBS modified bitumen experience and valid CSTS certification. Enjoy excellent wages, benefits, and career progression. Submit your application at roofingalbatross.ca today.
The Junior Prospects Hockey League is entering its third season of gameplay. The JPHL now offers academic and athletic opportunities in the 14U, 15, 17, and 18U age divisions. All JPHL games are broadcast live on Silent Ice TV with a showcase-style game schedule and high level of travel and accommodations for its team, staff, and players. To learn more about why the JPHL is the fastest-growing elite hockey academy stream in Western Canada, visit juniorprospectshockeyleague.com.
The Brick is serving up incredible deals on items in every department. Find up to 25% off dining and bedroom packages, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $840 off sectionals and sofas. Find everything you need to outfit your home this summer, from kitchen appliances and dining sets to mattresses and electronics. Take advantage of our amazing block party prices and fun family activities. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Some people see their RV as a way to travel the countryside and explore the great outdoors. For others, it's more like a summer cottage. Sure, it's got wheels, but that doesn't mean that you have to roll it around all the time. And I know someone who uses his RV exactly like this. It's Rick Showers from No Bull RV. Hey Rick, when was the last time you hooked up your trailer and took it somewhere?
Been years, Bob.
You just leave it in one place?
Well, you have to see our campsite. It's near Seba Beach. There's lots of privacy. It's a heavily wooded area, but very close to the lake, with full water and electrical hookup. So my wife Deanna and I enjoy cottage life with all its beauty and all the comforts of home.
And the RV you use in the cottage, did you buy it new?
Bob, what are you, nuts? I can happily find you an RV as nice as mine. Got dozens of them on the lot right now. And Deanna and I are living proof that you don't have to pay new RV prices to live the dream.
And that's No Bull.
No
Duh,
Bull
we haven't even talked about the
.ca.
The fact that
Portions of this hour brought to you by Albatross Roofing. They're looking for experienced flat roofers and sheet metal fabricators. You must have experience with SBS modified bitumen roofing systems, and you can apply at roofingalbatross.ca.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports.
Declan Kruger with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook as you make your way home. Hopefully, everything is smooth sailing. I don't even know. Is it raining outside right now? I hope it is. I know it was kind of off and on, intermittent little showers here and there, but hey, we need as much precipitation as we can get right now, especially around the Jasper area, but it's dry everywhere, so we could all welcome some rain. It's supposed to come tomorrow and Friday and even through Saturday, so hopefully it does, and maybe even more than expected. That would be nice. Very nice. Gregor Show is always presented by PlayAlberta.ca. You know what would be nice? The lottery win. Ooh, Lotto 649. It's been a classic that's been around for a long, long time. You know the game. 6 tickets or 6 numbers. Pick your bonus one. Hopefully you win. $30 million. No one was victorious last night in the Lotto Max. So it's 70 million plus 12 max millions. Get yours today at playalberta.ca. Now, while all this was going on, hey, there's much more important things than a GM signing. I know, but hey, you have golf tournaments and they're raising a lot of money for charities. We get to the Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction, and they are huge supporters in the community in many different ways, supporting lots of different charities, and we appreciate all the healthy donations they make to keep the community thriving at GS Construction as Mark Spector. The Spec Classic went down today. Spec, sorry that I had to run a little earlier than expected. But how was the day overall?
It was an unbelievably great day. I mean, it started with weather. It was such a pleasure to spend. Not that I'm complaining about our weather, but it was nice to spend a day in a golf course that wasn't plus 35. It was a nice, cool day with barely any breeze. It was a perfect time. We had a full house, a lot of very generous people, Jason. We missed you out there, but I understand why you had to go. I get it. And I'll tell you what, we're blessed. It's our 11th annual. We raised a ton of money, somewhere, I'm sure, north of 150,000, maybe as much as 175,000 for Sports Central today, and all from the help of Edmontonians and businesses and like-minded people who are just out there trying to help the community. Jay, you know all about them.
Yeah, it's I'm guessing the Knobloch dinner was ratherly hotly contested.
Yeah, I didn't see where that ended up, but it was moving up the board all afternoons. There'll be, the auction just closed like an hour ago, so I don't have a lot of details on that, but it is closed, and I'll be part of a dinner with Chris Knobloch. The Oilers are very kind to help set that up. And speaking of the Oilers, you know what? We were talking about them a little bit at the tournament, but I will say the day went on without a hitch, despite the fact the Oilers made a pretty big hire. I just came home and watched the press conferences here so I could prepare for your show. And it was an interesting day at the Hall of Fame room at Rogers. Was it?
What stood out for you?
What stood out? I will say that someone, anecdotally told me they thought everyone was a little too defensive, but I watched it with my own eyes. I didn't see that one bit. I saw a very contrite Stan Bowman. I saw a guy who wasn't dodging his past and what he'd gone through and what he was a big part of in Chicago. I didn't certainly hear a guy who passed the buck or made the point that, hey, we pushed it up the ladder, it was someone else's fault. I didn't see that guy at all. So really that's a start. You want a guy that looks in the mirror and takes a mistake and tries to make himself a better person out of it. That's what I saw as a journalist. And the other guy I saw was Sheldon Kennedy. I just watched the Sheldon Kennedy interview, and I felt, I want to say to you, Jay, if Sheldon Kennedy feels that he's okay with Stan Bowman, I'm not sure who I am to say I'm not okay with Stan Bowman getting this job. What about you?
Well, sure, but like I said, and I had Sheldon on my show, and we talked about it. Like, Stan said all the right things today, and that's great. But now he's got to walk the walk. And Sheldon Kennedy is the one who said it. Like, he's in a position, he being Stan Bowman, to be much more of a vocal and consistent advocate. Now, that doesn't mean talking about it every day, but it's through actions. And I am honestly, I will evaluate Stan Bowman's tenure in Edmonton as much about him following up on what he said he wanted to do off of the ice as much as he does with his GM trades and signings, because this is a unique situation. And it is something that is, and I think should be monitored. I've been very honest. I'm not going to change my opinion. I said I wouldn't have made the hire because I thought that there would, is the risk worth it? I'm not sure, but they made the hire. So whatever. So now my focus turns to, could this possibly become a positive with a GM of an NHL team in a Canadian market with the best player in the world that's going to have lots of eyes on them for the next few seasons? Can he become a strong advocate for sexual abuse and harassment and bullying? And don't shy away from the sexual harassment because it's worse to deal with. And if that happens, then I will applaud it. If they don't, I'll be frankly disgusted, because then all the words today meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, I can't restate that any better. I'm an open-minded guy, and I'll say to this juncture, like, hearing what Stan Bowman has gone through, the lengths to which he's gone to try to make himself a better man, to try to figure out why he made the decisions he made in Chicago and how to make them better and be smarter and be more aware. And the fact that he was such a big part of Sheldon Kennedy's project, I think, as Sheldon said, this was before he was getting a job in the NHL. He was talking about coming and working with me on this thing. So I like what's gone on so far. I'm not going to tell you I don't. I don't think there's much more he could have done to this day, Jay. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure what more he could have done to this day, but it can't stop here. It has to. We have to be able to look back on Stan Bowman 2-3 years down the road and say, hey, you know what? This guy wasn't just blowing smoke. He's walked the walk here. And if that happens, I think a lot of people should be able to, I think he's in a position to make hockey a better place. He's in a position to have a huge positive impact. If he can do that, then I'll take my hat off to him and say, good job, Oilers. Good job, Stan Bowman. My hat's not off yet because it's got to happen. But if it does, I think we'd be ready to acknowledge it.
Yeah. It's going to have to happen for sure. And really, like, as far as hockey moves go, he's got his first 3 moves are likely contract extensions. Broberg, Holloway, they got to get it. Well, that not even an extension, just a contract. And then an extension for Draisaitl. Bouchard is one that I could see maybe happen more during the season than anything. There's not the urgency because he's an RFA. So, you can wait a little bit longer. I'm not sure it's going to change the price tag that much, to be honest. So it's not one where they're like, oh my God, we're pressing, where I see Draisaitl a little bit different. He's a pen and UFA. You could sign him during the season. It's happened before. I think they'd prefer not to. Jeff Jackson did admit that they wouldn't really have any serious conversations until they hired the GM. So now they've hired the GM. You know what? You give them a week spec to probably get to know people in the organization, have conversations, and then you reach out. But if you're Stan Bowman, I would think once you interviewed for the job, part of that interview process would have been, what's your plan? And I would think he would have some numbers in place already in that conversation as far as what he wants to do with Leon Draisaitl.
Oh, absolutely. He better show up with a plan at the interview, no question. I want to say to you that I don't think that Jeff Jackson's just left this thing hanging until he hired a new guy, right? Jeff Jackson is a former super agent. He knows exactly what Draisaitl's worth. He's done his projections on the Oilers' salary cap and where it goes and how it gets handled. And I'm not telling you that Stan Bowman's going to be a puppet. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is I don't believe for a minute that Jeff Jackson hasn't addressed this or thought about it until he hires a new GM. I don't believe that for a minute.
Yeah, no, I would agree wholeheartedly with that. What do you make of the Canada Soccer Bev Priestman situation, Spec, and the drone? I don't know if they're trying to be the New England Patriots of soccer. It definitely didn't work. It didn't look good. It seems rather ridiculous to me.
Oh my goodness! I mean, I would want some disclosure. I want to know if Bev Priestman, if this is her. How much did she know, right? Like, hey, it's possible there's a rogue assistant coach who's doing this on their own. That's possible. It's far more likely this is something that somebody gave an okay to, or a quiet, yeah, this is a good idea. So I guess that's what I really want to know is I want to know how high up this goes. It is such a ridiculously stupid thing to do that to me, it falls under the, if you think that's a good idea, what else do you think is a good idea? Right? I don't, if my head coach knew about this and okayed it, she's out of here, because that means she's making one bad decision. She's probably making 10 more. So, and maybe she had nothing to do with it. But if I'm running the Canadian Soccer Association, I damn well have to know who knew this was happening. And my goodness, why did you think it was a smart thing to do?
Yeah, it's a terrible look. The Olympics, I guess, officially began today with the men's soccer. Women's will play tomorrow. You're right. Like, who would have thought it was a good idea? Originally it was like, oh, it's a support staff person. And I'm like, well, okay, so they're a support staff person. Like, it's a drone. First of all, it's like the worst attempt to spy that you would think, like it's so ridiculous. And I'm kind of like, what do you think you're going to learn in practice that you don't learn from watching on film anyway? That's the part that I really don't understand. You think New Zealand's coming up with some trick play in practice? Like, I'm just like, why is it even necessary? It's just, you're the defending champions. Act like it.
we're talking about practice, Gregor, right? Like, I'm with you, man. I just watched the hockey team two hockey teams practice their way to the Stanley Cup final of Game 7. And at no point in time did anyone walk away from a practice with some unbelievable piece of knowledge that would have helped the other team win if they knew it. Like it's everything is wrong. It's not ethical. It's not honest. It's poor sportsmanship. It's illegal, right? It shows a huge, in my eyes, a huge level of a lack of self-confidence. I don't think we can beat this team on the pitch, so we got to find another way to cheat to beat them. I hate everything about it. I think it's an awful precedent, and it's a stain on the program. And if it has to get handled swiftly and with an iron fist here.
No doubt about it. Spec, have yourself a good evening. Enjoy a beer or a Latvian fire jumping shot, whatever you're going to have. And we will chat. We'll talk a little green and gold tomorrow and more on the Gregor Show.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for everything all week on this tournament. You give me a lot of help, and I sure appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, buddy. Anytime. That is Mark Spector, the Spec Report, brought to you by GS Construction. Well, I have some open line time, 833-401-1440. Text time. We'll get your thoughts now. Open it up on the Stan Bowman hiring. We'll also reset some of his comments from earlier today in case you missed it on his thoughts. I think on the real important aspects of this whole hiring situation. We'll get to that next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Rule number 62. Never miss a free pancake breakfast. It's unheard of and frankly a little upsetting. Summer in Alberta has its own set of rules. And if you're looking to add a little extra fun, Play Alberta has it all. Use promo code SUMMER to snag a $50 casino bonus for casino, instance, and live dealer with your next deposit. Get ready for promotions throughout the summer to help you make the most of those sunny Alberta days. Because we all know they don't last long enough. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Hey, Leduc, can leading edge physiotherapy help you? Well, this is a question I face every day. Let me answer the best I can. Do you have a pain or injury to your toe, foot, ankle, knee, hip, lower back, middle back, neck, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand, or finger? Are you dealing with a sprain, strain, fracture, tendonitis, bursitis, arthritis, dizziness, balance issues, surgery, whiplash, or headache? Okay, I can't list all the problems that we can help in leading edge physio in under 30 seconds, and I can't promise we fix everyone. But I can promise that we'll combine our experience, skills, technology, and hands-on care to give you an edge. Life shouldn't hurt. Find us at leadingedgephysio.com.
Diablo Boots has been open for business for 60 years, selling Canadian-made quality boots. Diablo has Canada West work, biker, and cowboy boots with fixable soles and heels. So why buy boots like Ariat, Justin, or Red Wing that are made in China? Get your money's worth with Diablo's Canada West tough, comfortable work boots. So save on boots by Save On Foods, 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save On Foods. And does Diablo sell the best boots in town? You betcha.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We are committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services, recreation programs, and care plans to suit your current and future needs. Enjoy maintenance-free living and build new friendships in a safe, independent community. Large suites with full kitchens and in-suite laundry, on-site amenities, and so much more. Find out more today about our communities across the province at cdlhomes.com.
Now, all sizes of premium roast coffee at McDonald's have a new low price starting at $1 plus tax for a small. It's great if you love great tasting coffee. $1 small premium roast coffee every single day. Must be McCafe. Plus tax at participating restaurants in Canada. Excludes delivery.
Some people see their RV as a way to travel the countryside and explore the great outdoors. For others, it's more like a summer cottage. Sure, it's got wheels, but that doesn't mean that you have to roll it around all the time. And I know someone who uses his RV exactly like this. It's Rick Showers from No Bull RV. Hey, Rick, when was the last time you hooked up your trailer and took it somewhere?
Been years, Bob.
You just leave it in one place?
Well, you have to see our campsite. It's near Seba Beach. There's lots of privacy. It's a heavily wooded area, but very close to the lake, with full water and electrical hookup. So my wife Deanna and I enjoy cottage life with all its beauty and all the comforts of home.
And the RV you use as a cottage, did you buy it new?
Bob, what are you, nuts? I can happily find you an RV as nice as mine. Got dozens of them on the lot right now. And Deanna and I are living proof that you don't have to pay new RV prices to live the dream.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
Declan Kruger with you on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, and Facebook. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. We got lots and lots of text to get to. Open line time or phone, if you like, same number. Either one. Hey, guys, I'm curious, Jason, you're expressing your skepticism, dismay. What would you like to see the GM and the team do that would satisfy your in a specific tangible action on their respective parts? In my world, Kyle Beach, who this directly affected, could move forward with the GM and be in the same room and work together, and who are the rest of us did not move forward. For Miles, well, Miles, first of all, I never once said that. I said I wouldn't have hired him because I felt like was the squeeze, were you going to get the juice? Was it worth it? Is he that much clearly better than everyone else? So would I have done it? He got hired today. How many people are talking about hockey? Not many. Now, maybe that's a good thing. There's more talking about sexual abuse. We'll see. Like I said, if he walks the walk, it could be a positive. And that's what I'll judge him on. He was the one who said it. I didn't say it. He said it. Don't put it out there and say things because you're like, well, this is what everybody's going to want to hear, so I'm going to say it. Be authentic. Be real. Match what you say. If he does that, this could actually turn out to be a very positive hire, which I've said many times in the show today. It's fair to not agree with the hiring and then say, I'll give him an opportunity to actually match what he says. I don't see how that's controversial in any way. Now, and some people are like, you know what? I can't do it. They're right. The problem where we have today is people have to be like, my opinion is the only one that matters and everyone has to agree with it. Otherwise, you're an idiot. No, that's the problem. We can have conversations. Not everyone has to see everything 100% the same way. It's ridiculous. But it doesn't mean there has to be name calling. It doesn't mean you have to be insulting anyone else, calling them left wing or anything. Like, to me, the minute someone tries to make this political, it shows their ignorance. Right? It shows that's all they can focus on. This has nothing to do with politics. Because if we want to make a list of sexual predators, there's been many on the left and there's been many on the right. Okay? Sexual abuse does not come from someone's political leaning. It is idiotic to even suggest it. Some of the worst offenders line up on both sides. Don't remotely think that if you lean right or you lean left, that your side is involved in sexual abuse. It's disgusting to even mention it. So please don't. For anybody out there, it's disgusting. It is such a slap in the face to all the survivors of sexual abuse. Like, give me a break. And so I hope Stan Bowman turns this into a positive. I don't have anything against Stan Bowman. None whatsoever. I said there's 32 NHL jobs, and this one might be the most attractive GM job right now. Did he deserve to get the best job based on his past? For me, no. But he got it. I'm not going to hold it against him. Now I'm going to evaluate him, not only what he does as a GM in trades and signings, and although he doesn't do a lot of the drafting, that's the amateur guys, but that's his team that he hires or maintains. How does his team do? And then how does the organization, and what do they do to further what they said today? And that's how I think how everybody should view it. As far as that, you can view that like we're never going to agree on trades and signings. That's what makes sports great. Those are the things we can disagree on because let's be honest, at the end of the day, this is not anything that's affecting some. Nobody has severe trauma from a trade not going the way they wanted. Okay? It's fun to debate sports. But when we want to talk real subjects like survivors of sexual abuse and the long-term trauma, that's a very different thing. That's not necessarily an opinion. Those are sad, hard truths and facts that I would never wish upon anyone. Somebody doesn't like a defenseman. Someone thinks this four is overpaid. Great. Those are the fun parts about sports. But I would, all I'll say is I wish Stan Bowman the best. I have nothing against him personally. Nothing. Never wronged me. But he came out today. He said a lot of things that gave me belief that, okay, you know what? Sheldon Kennedy vouched for him. He's worked with him for 2.5 years. It's longer than most people have ever worked in that field. Spoke to lots of young teams and players about it. Okay, good. But now that has to continue when you're in a position where there's more people watching you. Sometimes it's easier to do things out of the limelight. And he could still do some of those things. But there's lots of little things that they can do to show that this is not we're going to have a golf tournament once a year. We're going to go speak one time. And that means I'm still the consistent vocal advocate. Right? It's not the same. At all. Not the same. Hey, boys, does Jeff Jackson still make the final calls and everything? Like trades and that from Levi? It's a good question, Levi. I think if you hire a general manager and his job is to be the everyday guy and be in the trenches, I don't think you could neuter him or her, obviously him in this case. When it comes down to it, you can say, okay, they talked about collaboration, right? So I think Jeff Jackson would be on the collaboration, but why are you hiring a GM to do all that work? I guess unless you tell him, hey, I'm like, that would have to be outlined prior. But I don't know many GMs at some point at your workplace, at something, there has to be somebody who makes the final call. And I think it would be the GM. Now, you can have the president who oversees stuff, and if there's too many final calls he disagrees with, well, then obviously something changes. Right? So, I don't know. And here's the funny thing is, maybe the GM will have a say on certain things, but not everything. So it is a really good question. It was one that, it was asked today and kind of got a generic response from Jeff Jackson. We'll work in collaboration, but like, we don't really know what that means. I know at the draft table, lots of GMs, some GMs were like, they made the final call, but others were like, no, my director of amateur scouting makes the final call. So it can vary a little bit from organization to organization. Hey, boys, how will we know if he walks the walk? Well, actions speak louder than words. Right? I think you will see and hear. And like I said, it doesn't have to be yelling from the mountaintops on a regular basis. But he will need, I would say this, at the very simple, easiest thing. I remember Glenn Sather. Do you remember what Glenn Sather made the players do when they came to town? And this was in the 80s, and it's really too bad it's not here now. It was mandatory if you played for the Oilers that you connected with a local charity and you did stuff with them. That was just mandatory. You've got a lot of free time during the season as a player, right? You skate and practice, and on non-game days, like you can be done at noon, right? Now, lots of guys have families, sure. But if their kids are now they're in school, you still got time. You can find ways to do things. It's not like you got to do it every day. Right? Like George Larac did it a lot. But if I'm Stan Bowman, how are you not doing something with the Zebra Center? That would be like a no-brainer. It should, to me, if that doesn't happen, I would be quite disappointed. Right? Because that is an obvious direct correlation into to what they are, because they are the Child and Youth Advocacy Center in Edmonton. And he was just working with Sheldon Kennedy, who's a child and advocacy group, right? Started his own company, and that's what they do. So yes, I would see something in some form. Could it be as easy to start as the first 50-50 of the year goes towards the Zebra Child and Youth Advocacy Center? Right? There's ways to show that you are, and not just do the 50-50, but really engage. Like the Oilers show videos all the time. Right? I was never a huge fan of them showing videos when the kids go to the Stollery hospital. I think that should be a private thing sometimes. Right? And I don't need the behind the scenes stuff. But there's ways, my man, to show for sure that they can do it. Hey guys, what do you think the players will think of this? What if you were a player and somebody in your family is a victim of sexual abuse? Dave, I can't speak for the players. It's a fair question. But I can't say, well, this is how they would react. Everybody's going to react differently. Maybe that conversation, if you're in your organization and you knew that had happened and you're Jeff Jackson, maybe you've reached out to that player already and spoke to them and said, hey, this, what are your thoughts? This is what's happening. I know today it was asked, were the players consulted? And I do agree with Jackson's premise that players shouldn't be involved. Like, how does an NHL player really have any insight into who a good GM is or not? Like, honestly, how would they know? Right? Like, so you own your own company. You're looking to hire a CFO. Are you asking your top sales guy what his thoughts are? Probably not. Right? There's different roles in different companies. So now, do I believe that there was not one conversation had maybe with Connor McDavid? I guess maybe it's possible that it wasn't. Jeff Jackson, if there's one guy here that would know what Connor McDavid wants as far as information and what he doesn't, it would be his former agent. For sure, he would know. Hey, boys, how long till we expect a Draisaitl contract? Well, like I said, we knew it was never going to happen until the GM was hired. So GM's being hired today. Connor McDavid's getting married on the weekend. Doesn't mean that you can't talk to Leon Draisaitl's agent, but I would expect they know Draisaitl. I'm guessing he's in the wedding party. I have no idea, but I'm going to guess. They're like, hey, let's take a week here. Stan Bowman said it himself. He's got to get to know the staff. Right? So I think Stan Bowman will get together with Brad Holland and Keith Gretzky and Bill Scott and everybody else. Sit down with Daryl Cates, maybe. I don't know. But August 15th, August 30th, like I said, one of Draisaitl's agents, as European agent, said like end of August, they thought was a timeline, and that would make a lot of sense. So I would be very surprised if anything happened in the month of July, considering it's already the 24th, and they'll go from there. Hey, Greg's awesome discussion today. Thanks for asking challenging questions at the press conference. Difficult topic for sure. Could we end on something positive, though, like learning more about Sheldon Kennedy's potato farming? Well, hey, I asked him. You saw him laughing. Hey, potato farming, man. Now, anybody out there who's planted potatoes, so you think about, now it's obviously a bigger operation, right? Like you're talking hundreds and thousands of acres. So it's a little bit different than the little, I don't know. Well, we had a pretty big garden growing up, and, we used to probably hill, I don't know, seemed like 6 rows of potatoes, and each row was probably 50 feet long. Right? Oh, by hand, but now you got big. A lot of stuff now is not like they're not out there manually weeding, right? I can tell you that. So it's but he says, you know what? It's good. They actually worked with a little shout out to the little potato company here, based right out of Edmonton. Just if you see their building, I think it's right on the QE2 on the what would that be? The east side of the highway. So that's what he worked with. He said so. Little shout out locally. Nice. We got lots more text to get to. 833-401-1440. I love the text, love the passion. If we all agreed, it would be boring. You listen to the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Now, all sizes of premium roast coffee at McDonald's have a new low price starting at $1 plus tax for a small. It's great if you love great tasting coffee. $1 small premium roast coffee every single day. Must be McCafe. Plus tax at participating restaurants in Canada. Excludes delivery.
Christensen Communities, the name in active adult living. Enjoy retirement living without compromise. At Christensen, we understand that each lifestyle is unique. We are committed to providing choice through optional dining, personal services, recreation programs, and care plans to suit your current and future needs. Enjoy maintenance-free living and build new friendships in a safe, independent community. Large suites with full kitchens and in-suite laundry, on-site amenities, and so much more. Find out more today about our communities across the province at cdlhomes.com.
Gather around the radio, kiddies, for the best time of day. It's Oodle Noodle time. Listen in this week as your noodle hero battles the barbarous Bobby Burger. Now sing along. You know the word. Oodle Noodle time. Oodle Noodle time. You know what time it is now. Get up and give me your best Oodle Noodle dance. Your best time of day is Oodle Noodle time.
The Brick is serving up incredible deals on items in every department. Find up to 25% off dining and bedroom packages, up to 40% off mattresses, and up to $840 off sectionals and sofas. Also, from Thursday to Monday, shop our fantastic specialty 5-day deals and find everything you need to outfit your home this summer. Plus, on Saturday, July 20th, enjoy free pop and all beef hot dogs, specialty sales, and fun family activities. Some exclusions apply. See in-store for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Weird Johnson, whoa.
Hi, Dennis from Weiss Johnson here. We all know how unpredictable Edmonton weather is. Extended falls to late winters, and who knows what spring and summer will bring. Regardless of the outdoors, your indoors will be comfortable with Weiss Johnson and Goodman. Whether it's a new Goodman air conditioner, heat pump, or furnace, using our expertise, we'll give you the best quote on Goodman products with no misleading information or offers. Just what's best for your family. Visit wjcools.com today.
Employee pricing is on now at Chevrolet. Right now, get up to $10,500 off select Silverado 1500 High Country Crew Cab models. With an available 6.2-liter V8 engine and standard Chevrolet safety assist, including forward collision alert, getting out of the city and having a nice, quiet day on the beach is easier than ever this season. So relaxing. Ask your Chevrolet advisor for details.
Tomorrow on the show, if you want to learn more about scouting, not just from an on-ice perspective, but also from a scientific perspective, I think you're going to enjoy the conversation that we're going to have tomorrow, right up to start the show. So I recommend tuning in with our guest at 2:20 with Shane Malloy. I'm very much looking forward to that. A little bit. It's going to be pretty good. He's been studying this and doing lots of unique looks at it. You even have kind of some of the teams where the onus is to try to find players who can play 200 games. Now, obviously, you'd love to get like superstars in the draft, and especially when you find some of those late ones like David Pasternak at number 25, Kucherov at 58, like Braden Point in 79. Like those are awesome picks. But even that organization who did it, little bit lucky because they didn't take the player first. Like they liked the player, but they didn't, even when on draft day, they didn't think they were going to be superstars, because if they did, they wouldn't have waited that long. You just wouldn't risk it. So because you don't know, you might have an inkling, but you don't know. But there's lots of other things and how it's changed and how some organizations still look at it much different than others. And a few guys out there, like if you look at one team that's had a real successful draft record, but then the GM has taken these players and then kind of given them away and didn't use good asset management. There's a few examples of that here and we're really focusing on the salary cap era of this. So that's coming up tomorrow on the show. Hey guys, was anyone else even considered for the job from Ontario Moms? Oh yeah, they had a short list. I think it was 4 or 5. Hunter was interviewed for the job. I really don't. I never got the sense, to be honest, that Keith Gretzky was fully interviewed for the job. I never got that, and unless something changed. I should preface that by saying unless something changed, kind of after July 10th. So I guess it's possible, but up until that point, my understanding was there was never really an interview process with him. So it didn't. Jeff Jackson, has his own reasons. You're not going to explain why you didn't hire guys. It's more why did you hire Stan Bowman, and that's what he focused on. So, hey guys, I love the fact that we're the home of second chances, but I think that the division of fan base is not a great idea for the boys. Bowman clearly has a pedigree to run a team, but I don't know if the world has received their due pound of flesh. It also takes away from a positive season with some awesome aura from the soggy corpse. Oof. It's quite the handle. It's a bad visual. You know what? I think at times it's good to have discussions. And if they can be rational discussions where people can disagree, but listen to the other side and be like, okay, well, you're not going to, if somebody is that adamant one way or the other today, whatever anybody says isn't going to change their mind. Right? I read a quote once that asked the person, is there anything I could say that would make you consider the opposite? And if the answer is no, then you're best off to say, okay, well, let's move on. Because you're just wasting your time. Like some people never want to even consider the other side of it. And, there's lots of different moving parts here. Right. I do think the one thing that's important is that, I've seen some people suggest the damage. First of all, Bowman didn't do any of it. He's not a perpetrator. And I think that has to be point. Brad Aldrich is the number one POS in all of this situation. Okay. Number one. Someone said, well, they should have vetted him better. And I'll ask this question, and you know what? Going through the hiring process right now myself. And I can tell you, well, first of all, it's illegal to ask someone their and let's say, hey, so you know what? Are you a predator? Right now, you can do a background check to see if they ever been arrested. You can ask people that, hey, you gotta send me this from the RCMP. That's easy. But guess what? That's only if they've been caught. Right? And when you consider how many victims and survivors there are of sexual abuse that never, ever goes reported. So, and then you can't ask someone in a reference like, hey, what do you think of their sexual tendencies? There's certain things you can't ask. So that would be a hard one, whoever did the hiring for him to know something like that. Maybe that's something we find a way to improve on. But you could do maybe a personality test and do different things. But even then, like a lot of the predators are wolves in sheep clothing, and they hide, and they're like I don't think I can rationalize with how they think or act, because it's hard for me to think about doing that to another human being. Like couldn't consider doing that to someone. So I don't even know if I can. And how many of you could, Declan, when you think about it, like, could you even try to rationalize to be like, oh, I think I could, if I talk, I think I would find out if that person's a sexual deviant or not. Like I don't know if I could.
No, I mean, I don't think so either. I think it's such a tough thing to gauge, such a tough thing to put a pinpoint on. And yeah, to your point, like you said, so often it's wolf in sheep's clothing, and reason isn't the right word, but I'll use it. There's a reason for that, and there's a reason that these predators carry themselves that way, walk around that way. And no, like you said, I think it would be very tough to gauge.
Yeah, no, for sure. Guys, what do you think it would take for the Oilers to change their mind in this decision? Well, Jeff Jackson, if you listen to him today, I don't know that because if they lose a lot of games, usually the coach gets the blame first, and the GM, who between now and the start of the season, is there going to be any acquisitions and additions to this team? Like Holloway's part of the team, Broberg's part of the team. Draisaitl, if he gets a contract extension, is already part of the team. You know what I mean? So if all of a sudden the team's losing, do you think, wow, it's because we hired the GM? Like, I don't know. So no, I don't think there's anything he can do. He says, hey, people are entitled to their opinion. They disagree with his opinion. And his decision to hire him. And that's where you go. So we will find out what happens. It will be a conversation. And you know what? To me, the one other positive, because I'll try to find the positives, as I've said many times, if it was me and I was asked, Connor asked me before I went on holidays, would I have hired Stan Bowman? I said no. Not that I think Stan Bowman's a deplorable human being. I think he made a mistake. I felt like, you know what? There's consequences for your actions. I thought there was a lot of risk in hiring him. Blowback potentially. And I felt like it's probably the best job in the league. Now that he's hired, though, I look at it this way. Maybe there can be a positive out of it, in the fact that if he lives up to all the things he said today and wants to become a consistent vocal advocate for sexual abuse, harassment, bullying, all of that, as he said, it's not just one thing, it's many things, and he continues to do it, good. Because he'll be in a position and a platform where he'll get more attention, which is good, but kind of sad at the same time. Right? This is a problem in society, that we should have lots of people at government levels, at education levels, at police levels, everywhere. I don't care. At the mini mart, right? Everywhere in society, we should be wanting to collaborate and talk about how can we reduce this from our society, because it's a societal problem. Definitely is a societal problem. We'll talk about it more as the week goes along. Also, big drafting tomorrow at 2:20. I want to tune in for that. We'll talk a little green and gold. Any changes coming? Doesn't sound like it. Have yourselves a great day. On behalf of Declan Kruger, Donovan Paulson running things at OilersNation.com and Oilers Nation YouTube and Facebook. Here's a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home with no payments, no interest for 1 year on your AC unit. Stay cool all summer long. You need a lot of help? Do it at legacyheating.ca. Good night.
This is a Sports 1440 update.
And for your Sports 1440 update, we start in the hockey world with the Edmonton Oilers, as the Oilers have hired Stan Bowman as general manager and executive vice president of hockey operations. He is the first member of the Chicago Blackhawks executive group from the 2020-10 team that had the sexual assault scandal that came to light in recent years. Bowman was reinstated by the NHL earlier this month, and Bowman, aged 51, ran the Blackhawks when they won 3 Stanley Cups in 2010, 2013, and 2015. News around the NHL as the Buffalo Sabres have agreed to terms with goaltender Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen on a 5-year contract with an AAV of $4.75 million. Scores in the MLB, the Marlins leading the Orioles 3-0 right now in the top of the 5th. Tigers leading the Guardians 1-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Padres up big on the Nats 6-3 in the top of the 4th. Mets and Yankees 1-1 in the bottom of the 3rd. And of course, the Toronto Blue Jays in action right now, winning against the Tampa Bay Rays 2-0 in the bottom of the 4th. A couple scores from earlier today was the Reds over the Braves 9-4, Pirates over the Cardinals 5-0, Twins over the Phillies 5-4, Brewers over the Cubs 3-2, and the Rockies hanging 20 runs on the Red Sox with 21 hits in a 20-7 victory. News around the CFL as the Owls have moved Cody Fajardo to the 6-game injured list, and AJ Ouellette will also be out as Week 8 gets going on Thursday between the Owls and Rough Riders. Edmonton Riverhawks in action, part of a doubleheader tonight. First game at 7:05, second game at 9 o'clock, and a makeup for yesterday's canceled game. And one other piece of news as the FIFA Disciplinary Committee has opened proceedings against Canada Soccer in the wake of an ongoing drone scandal involving the women's Olympic team. Head coach Beverly Priestman has stepped away from the team for their game against New Zealand on Thursday, and Joseph Lombardi and Jasmine Mander, assistants with the club, could also face discipline. Up next is Turn Sports. Fox Sports Radio will be by at 9. Kevin Carries and Brandon Douglas back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. On behalf of Jason Gregor, this has been a Sports 1440 update, and I'm Declan Kruger.
Sports 1440.